All right. That's it, I think. I think we're going to do it.
Mm-hmm.
If you would like, when that camera comes to you, click the clicker in front of the camera there, and then we'll be rolling.
All right, here we go.
Here we go. My next guest on the podcast, man, I met this young fella a long time ago. A long time ago. Let me turn that down a bit.
Yeah.
Pretty cheery, pretty exciting. I don't know, late mid-94, something like that. And I could see that this fella had some talent back then. I hoped he'd go places, and he certainly has. Kim Grosser, welcome to my podcast.
Thank you very much. I'm glad to be here.
All right. Little applause. And then into it. First question. You've seen these before.
Yep.
If you could be an animal, what animal would you be and why? Tuck that mic right in there.
Mm-hmm. Probably, I thought about this, and I reckon it'd be some sort of bird of prey. So you get left alone, you can fly around and do whatever you want, and just the freedom, I guess. Yeah.
A few people have said
Yeah.
stuff like that. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
It makes sense for what we've done. So
Yeah, definitely. Well, I'm curious to see how all people do it.
Yeah.
And what they say. All right. We'll go back to the beginning. Tell us about young Kim Grosser growing up, your family life. You're in primary school still. You're just a little kid. You probably might not have even had a BMX yet. What was your family life? Tell us.
Well, that'd be in the 80s, so pretty far back. Grew up in Elizabeth, northern suburbs of Adelaide, the grimy streets of Elizabeth. And, just dad, mum, sister, normal life, going to school.
What were you into at school?
Look, just normal stuff, sports. Did cricket, soccer, football, all that sort of stuff. Skateboarded first before I got into bikes. So I was kind of into skateboards when I was real young. And then slowly, I guess, gravitated to bikes. I've kind of always had bikes growing up, mountain bikes or just clunkers, just getting around
Transport.
on. Yep, ripping around the neighbourhood, that sort of stuff. Grew up around the corner from Russell Tranter, and we would ride our bikes at the front of his house, put the board on a few bricks and jump the footpaths
all the fun stuff.
Line your mates up and jump over them.
How old do you reckon were you when you met Russell?
Well, we went to primary school together, so that's way back. It's probably like year 3, year 4 onwards from what I can remember, because I can't really remember earlier than that. So, yeah, pretty much early primary school. He was in some of my classes together, so Russell was the first one I knew. And, yeah, we just kind of got into it together. And then once I got to high school, that's when it sort of snowballed, I guess. But I got into skateboarding first a bit more seriously. Thought that was the coolest thing ever. And did that for probably 10 to 12, 13 maybe. And then bikes took off after that. So, yeah.
And did you like school?
Yeah.
Were you good at it?
Yeah, I was good. I was a smart kid, switched on, had no problems at school. Run amok. I was a little bit naughty, I guess, like everyone else. But generally, I liked it, yeah. Yeah, I was into it.
Did you do well? Did you finish school?
No, I definitely didn't finish. Being from Elizabeth, I guess not many people did finish, but I ended up going into working full-time. So
I reckon 80% of the guys I'm chatting to are all saying the same thing. About year 11, they've all gone do something different. What did you do once you left school? What year did you finish, and what would you go into?
Well, I left in year 10, to be honest. By that point I was just living with my dad, and I guess we were struggling, we were kind of poor, so we didn't have much money, and I wanted stuff and Dad couldn't give it to me, so I got a job part-time and did that. And then after a while I just wanted more money. I wanted to do what I wanted to do, and so I said to him, I want to work full-time. And he pretty much said, you can go to school or you can go to work, one or the other, but you're not living in my house unless you do one of the two. So I was like, all right, I'm leaving school and I'm going to work. So started working at McDonald's first, and then after that I went to Holden's. So in Elizabeth there, the big factory, everybody worked there. So did that for a few years, and yeah, that's kind of where I started.
What was that experience like? Like looking back at it now, do you go, actually, that taught me stuff?
No, it taught me I didn't want to be a robot. So if you're working in Holden's, you're a robot. You're just on a production line. It's quite mind-numbing. No one really wanted to be there. It was good money. It was a good job, but it was just horrible.
It was a job.
Yep.
I worked on a factory line at Kelvinator, building fridges, so I've got some recollection.
Yeah.
All right, a bit more about your family. Mum and Dad, they still with us?
Yep. My real mum left when I was pretty young, so it was just kind of me and my dad and my sister. And then my sister sort of moved out when she hit teens, so it was just a bit me and my dad. And my dad ended up remarrying, and my stepmom Sue moved in as I moved out. So then they've been together ever since. So that's 97, 98, something like that. Yeah. So.
Yeah, rightio. Okay, so when did you start falling into leaving skateboards and getting a bit more into BMX? When did that happen? And how did that happen?
Well, I kind of remember it happening because we grew up next to a BMX track called Womma Racetrack, and it's not there anymore. It's a totally gone, but it ended up being an abandoned racetrack. So yeah, it was like no more races happening there. It was just a track. Excuse me. So we ended up going to that track and building little lips on top of the jumps and sort of getting into it more there. So,
how old are you?
Would have been year 8, year 9. So what's that?
13,
14.
Yeah.
So it's just after skateboarding, I guess.
Yeah.
And then we were at pretty much Womma Racetrack. We met a guy named Damien Daniels, who he had a Hoffman Condor or something like that, and he was a bit older. And then he introduced us to Dwayne Golding, Terry Durham, and those boys were all the same age, and I was 15 or something at the time. By the time I met these guys, and myself and Russell were the same age, and we met them, and they would take us around to the ramp. There was a ramp in the area, and Damien take us to his house, show us some videos, Mad Matt, Ride On, those kind of things. So that was pretty much when I got hooked. Watching Mad Matt for the first time was insane.
And that was your crew?
Yeah.
And that's when you go, yeah.
Yep. At the very start, that was it. Yep.
And what sort of bike are you riding? Like, what's your setup, and how well did it handle the abuse?
At first, it was just pieces of bikes put together to make a bike, I guess. And then once I got a job at McDonald's, I saved up and bought my first proper bike, which was a Haro Shredder. And Russell begged his mum for months and months, and she bought him a Haro Blamo. And that's when it kind of started getting serious, proper bike. Upgraded some of the parts and got better cranks and that sort of stuff, and then went nuts from there.
What did you have to ride at that stage? Like, there wasn't a lot of places around. Like, what did you find? Like you said, scratch your lip here, and
yeah, there was not much.
How did you progress, and how did that?
It was pretty much dirt. Dirt was all we really had. So the racetracks, and then slowly a jump here and a jump there, and not much a ramp, a half pipe here and there. It wasn't until years later Skate Effects got built, and an actual park started getting built was years later. So yeah, it was pretty much just dirt, just digging dirt and pretty much street. Actually, we rode a lot of street because we watched the early videos and they were all park, street, dirt, everything. So we just sort of copied that. So we'd ride dirt, and then at night time we'd go ride around the shopping centre, around the TAFE, stuff like that. What
is street to you? What were some of the obstacles? What were you riding on and over?
Well, street back then in Elizabeth was whatever you had, which wasn't much. So that'd be the odd rail, I guess, and a bunch of ledges, and just grinding stuff and figuring it all out. So not much, just whatever.
And you're just learning tricks. What was your first trick? Like, what was the thing?
Well, first street tricks would have been grinds, would have been peg grinds, and then feeble grinds, mixed grinds, stuff like that. And the first rail that we actually ever tried, all of us, was Central's Kinker in Elizabeth. It's at the football club. There's a few of them at the back that goes down to a car park. So like down, flat, down, flat 8 or whatever it was. That was the first rail we probably all tried. So we just started out on a kinker, which is not normal.
That's pretty tech, I'd imagine.
Yeah. But when that's all you got, right?
And how did that go?
All right. Like we crashed a bunch, all of us, but I think a few of us got it. I think Dwayne was always the one in front because he's older, stronger. He was like a man when we were still kids, you know.
Yeah.
So Dwayne would send some big stuff, and we'd get psyched and sort of follow him. Yeah.
Yeah, but he'd get hurt and he just dust himself
there
off.
was a little a tiny mini ramp at Andrew's farm, and then we used to jump out of the mini ramp into the dirt behind it, you know, so it was like a jump.
Yeah.
And Dwayne would do Indian airs and Supermans and no-foot cans and some pretty crazy stuff for back then.
And so you guys pushed each other because you had a group. You had a good, tight group, yeah?
Yep. It got even tighter once, I guess, we met Mick Bazan. He was a young fella at the time. We actually did a cross keys comp. I think you were there for it. And he was in the kids comp. And it's a little tiny jump on the side of the big jump that we were jumping. And he was doing all sorts of tricks. I'm like, who the hell is this kid? He's pretty good, you know. So we ended up finding out who he was, and we all knew he had to have been jumping something. So we asked him, like, where do you ride? And he said, I've got a jump in my house. So we went and met him up there one day and rode this jump with him. And like from then onwards, he was part of the crew.
And that was a pretty serious jump.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, Mick ended up jumping the big one in the comp, doing a huge no-foot can, and spinning some people out.
The spot at his place there.
Oh, the one you're thinking of is the one that came later.
Ah, okay.
So at first he had there's a little valley somewhere near his house, and he had there was a roll in, a little set of doubles in the bottom, and it was probably like, I don't know, 7 feet gap. Looked pretty small, 5 feet high.
Yeah.
But big enough to do whatever he wanted to do on it. So that's where he obviously got his skills, and we were like, all right. We started riding with him, and all of a sudden he was a young fella in the group, so everyone called him Little Mick.
Yeah.
You know? And then that was pretty much when we all got real tight. And Damien Daniels, the guy that introduced us to me and Russell to Dwayne and that, he had a sister named Danae. And Danae lived in Davern Park and pretty much was like a share house. We all just hung out there all the time. So it was a hub. We stayed there, we hung out there. She was like Nana Danae, you know. And that was kind of where...
Shout out Danae.
Yes. Held it together for years for us and gave us somewhere to go. And we just started, once we all got licenses and cars, it had just exploded from there. We started going all over Adelaide, and all the comps you were running, that sort of stuff.
And so you liked comps. I mean, there's a bit of a mix with riders that would ride trails and ride jumps, and they had all the skills to go in a comp, but a comp was different. How did you look at a comp?
Well, comp was just exciting because that was all there was back then, There was no internet, there was no nothing, so... If a comp was on, everyone went. Everyone was stoked. And then if they knew you were going to be there, it was like a chance to be in a video. So bring out your big moves and see what happens.
Try and learn a new trick. Yeah. The crowd's cheering you.
Yeah, most of the time we'd be learning new tricks on the day, on the jump.
Yeah.
In the comp. We just send it and see what happens. And I guess because we're all from the northern suburbs, we didn't have many trails because the dirt was terrible. So we tried. We built some jumps. We built jumps here, built jumps there. We ended up with Lindock, Gawler, Troy's house, the Gawler step up.
Yep.
So we had a few spots, but the dirt was terrible, so it wasn't the best trails. The good trails are all down south. As you remember.
Trails as you're talking
rhythms
6, 7, 8, and like 10 jumps in a row versus just a
with
couple of doubles and
and
maybe 2 sets of doubles and a berm or something.
Our jumps were more or less just a straight run of jumps as far as you could go, and then turn around and ride back to the start. It wasn't many berms and
Contour
stuff.
of the land didn't lend itself.
Yeah, it was
well.
very flat, so jumps were just pump. Like you couldn't just use the momentum of the downhill, But it was good. It was good practice. Like I didn't come from a racing background, so I was pretty sketchy at the start. I was landing back wheel and sideways and whatever it took, but I wasn't scared to send it. So
taught you the skills.
Yeah. So that's what kind of helped me get going.
All right, excuse me, my professional.
It's all good.
Yeah, so a tight crew. How important was that to your progression?
Oh, massive. My progression only happened because I got to ride with older riders like Terry and Dwayne, even Damien. Damien was really good on ramps, so I wasn't interested at ramps at the start. I was just dirt and street. So was Mick, you know. So that they brought the ramps into it more for us, and then once we started traveling and meeting the guys down south and seeing, I don't know, Daniel Beard, Ross Richter, people like that. Jesse Carlson was a huge influence. So seeing those guys ride made me want to get better. But mostly for me, it was the videos, watching what's happening in America, and realizing, because I never realized before that, like this could be a lifestyle. This could be a path to a whole nother life, you know, which is better than what I was living.
So their props series coming out.
Props, yep, all the props, all that stuff. It was just like, I knew straight away I wanted to do it, and I was gonna get there no matter what, basically. So I was pretty determined, I guess. Yeah.
Okay, so what age had you kind of put that seed in your mind?
I'd say early on, when I first saw the videos, I was blown away. I was like, I couldn't believe that was more than just a local thing. It was huge in America, even though there wasn't real money in it. It wasn't about the money. It was about just being
landing
a good rider, a professional rider in a way. Like
doing the craziest
just
thing.
Doing cool stuff and doing it easy. I think that was the goal. So I started out with small goals.
Sorry.
It's all right. Started out with a lot of small goals, like I want to do a Superman, I want to do a 360, and then I want to do a backflip. And the funny story about backflips is probably the only reason we learnt backflips is we wanted to get sponsored because we were pretty poor. We couldn't afford anything. We were riding pretty bad bikes, but Elizabeth Star Cycles was the nearest shop. We went in there, me, Russell, and Mick, and we all were trying to get sponsored. You know, because back then you either give a tape or you just go in and ask. So we went and asked, and the guy Gary said to us, "Like, you can do backflips, I'll sponsor you."
He was good, Gary, wasn't he?
And I was like, all right, cool. So we went back and we got someone to film, and we learnt flips. And we all three of us pulled a flip and took the footage to him, and he gave us all a bike that day. So instantly on the team, you know. So that was it. That's how it started for sponsorships.
Shout out Gary, Elizabeth Star Cycles, big supporter.
Massive start, and then I think my next sponsor would have been you, I think. Yeah.
And sponsorship at that day, it's not much. Like for anyone else, it's like you don't get anything for anything. You pay full price for everything, or you get $20 off or something.
Yeah.
But sponsorship was, like a bike is pretty impressive. Or for me, it was some t-shirts.
Yep.
You know,
bit of clothing, shoes,
and a bit of exposure in a video kind of thing.
Yeah, which was huge. You know,
for the time,
it's kind of all you wanted, really. You weren't looking for. I wasn't looking for paychecks or anything at the time. You know, I was just looking to do it more affordable. So
just get that next leg up because you're pretty talented. There's a group of you that had some pretty good skills.
Yeah, and I definitely wasn't talented. Like, I worked hard. Like, I had the talent for having a go.
Yes.
But I wasn't naturally skilled on a bike. Like, when Mick got involved, Mick had the racing background since he was 3. So he would jump jumps perfectly smooth, nosedive in, and I was just like, I had to learn that. You know, I had to learn to get smooth. So you can even see it in your early videos. Like, my footage in the early videos is sketchy. And then as it gets towards bad habits, you realise I've cleaned it all up. And which was another huge thing. Like, we had no cameras. So the early days we would ride the step up, and I remember doing Superman seat grab, finally getting them good. And then Richie, a friend of Danae's and a few other people, he's rolled up with a camera. He said, "Do you mind if I film you?" I'm like, "No, for sure, go for it." So he filmed us, and at the end of the session, we're like, "Come back to Danae's house, show us the footage.
And you can learn."
That would be awesome. And he's like, "Yeah, no worries." So he came back and put it on tape, and I was waiting to see the Superman seat grab I did, you know, and then it came up, and it was tiny.
Yeah.
Like, legs barely off the back. I'm like, I thought I was stretching it as far as you could go. Like, I've got this. So it was a reality check, which was good. Like, okay, nowhere near where I thought I was. Which meant, all right, you can go further.
Push.
I can go further than what I did. So next time in the jump, I can boom, start stretching it. And then once I started really stretching it, you know, it was like, okay, I'm probably doing it.
Then you can see.
Watching the footage, like, I'm actually doing what I thought I should be doing. So
because there's not many people, like, we're in Australia, you might get a props video every quarter or something.
Yep.
And maybe one big video a year. Then some of those tricks weren't even, like, there's only a few people in the world doing them.
Yeah, and well, the thing was,
So how do you learn?
Yeah, we're watching footage that's 6 months old already, because by the time we got to Australia, by the time they even put the footage out and it even got to Australia, it's already old compared to what's happening over there. And all you're watching is these pros just pulling everything. unless there was a crash section.
It was like a 360. They weren't even doing 720s then.
You just assume they're that good. So we're like, okay, that's what we got to be, you know. So we just push and push and push till we get what we think is close to that level. Not realizing that they're human. They were crashing quite a bit, but you don't see that. They're just showing you
the one time
they nailed it, right?
After 20 goes.
But that was good for us because it made us consistent, you know, especially not having brakes back in the day. Everyone had brakes, and not having brakes was kind of looked slightly down on, I guess. It's like, what are you doing, you know?
Spend a minute on that.
Brakes. I think Dwayne covered it a little bit in your podcast with Dwayne. But, yeah, basically we were poor and we couldn't afford fixing or getting new wheels or getting new brakes. So wheels would always be really buckled and the brakes would never work. So we just took them off. Like when I bought the Haro Shredder, I had brakes on it. I think it had front and back brakes on the bike when I bought it. And within a month, they were off and never went back on. So, and just didn't need them. You know, we're jumping dirt jumps, and then we had long rollouts, or we'd roll up a hill to wash off the speed after the jump. So we just didn't really need it. Not thinking that it was like sort of molding our style, I guess. You know, like just it was normal to us because we all did it, our own group. You know, and there's not many other riders out north at the time to go off of, you know.
I don't think anyone's riding Brakeless when you guys were riding Brakeless. Not that I saw
the
anywhere.
only guy we know of is Troy McMurray because we watched videos and he was a Brakeless rider in the States and everyone like knew he was the Brakeless guy and he was a little sketchy, a little wild. So people sort of stayed away from that. Like, no, I don't want to be sketchy.
But when you think about it, he has the total control of... Or not.
Oh, in his peak, it was really good, really good. But he was a bit wild too. He was a bit loose, you know. And I guess
you can't slow down. Okay, you got to roll with it.
Yeah, people associated that with being not good, so they didn't really follow that trend, I guess. Where we were like, no, we're fine.
If anything, you weren't doing it for a trend.
No, and if anything, it just made us more consistent in the fact that, like, if I was pedaling towards a jump, I was pedaling towards a jump. There's no turning back.
No backing out.
There was no backing out. So confidence went through the roof.
That's a big mindset there.
There. Big thing. So not realising it, you know, watching until we saw other riders like the Southerners and stuff, they would jump a jump in rhythms and stop in the middle and pull out. Like,
safe to go now.
Didn't land very well there, so I'm going to pull out. I'm like, well, we didn't have that luxury. So we were just, you know, get it right. Get it right. Get good at crashing, If you don't get good at crashing, you're not going to last. So now it was good in a way, for sure. Yeah.
And now that's pretty common. It's uncommon to have a lot of guys with brakes.
Yeah, I think that came down to certain riders like Garrett Reynolds.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've heard of Garrett Reynolds. Yeah. He's pretty much the GOAT. He's like...
What you can do.
Yeah, he started doing it, Brakeless, and everybody was trying to emulate him already. So as soon as he did it, everyone started copying, and then it became...
It's kind of like snowboarding, maybe. You know, there's no brakes on a snowboard. You've got to use your surfboard, surfing, skating. You know, it's bringing it a little closer to that.
Exactly. But yeah, we just didn't realise we were pioneering it a little bit. I guess.
Well, I think you definitely were. Definitely here in little old Adelaide.
Yep, the dirt jumping capital of Australia. As far as I knew back then, it was because that's all we really had. So we made the most of it.
Yeah. So keep us there. You're 16, 17. You've just got your driver's license. Maybe you've finished work. You got a bit of work, but you pretty much ride every day with your mates.
Yep.
And then I'd run a few comps every now and then.
Yep.
And you guys would come around and we'd meet the different crews.
Yep.
Who were some of those crews and who were some of those people?
Back then it was Paul Rudd, obviously. Paul Rudd was everywhere. He was kind of based closer to the city, but he was sort of everywhere because of that. Then you had the Hills guys, Toby, Stubbs. I forget a few of the other guys' names. Sorry, boys.
No, that's okay.
Then down south you'd have your Victor Harbour and you have Daniel Beard, Jeremy Beard, Ross. You have Jesse. Jesse was a legend always. Always will be. He was probably one of my biggest idols watching when I was younger.
Still today.
Jared Simpson was another one.
Yep.
He was like the first guy I ever saw do a tail whip in front of me when I was real young, and it just blew me away. Like, holy shit. Like, dudes are doing this sort of stuff here. This is awesome, you know. The first guy I actually ever saw do something proper, which really spun me out, was at Walmer Racetrack. It was a guy you'd probably know pretty well, but back then he was just a BMX guy. His name's Shane Rogers, and he rocked up on, I don't know what he was riding, some sort of Haro or something, and we had jumps built up with a bit of an extra kick on the lip, you know, and he 360'd one of our jumps at the track, and canned and did something else at height, proper, cleared the whole jump. Super cool dude, real nice to us.
Very humble.
Very cool guy, like straight up. And then he had a ramp somewhere at his house in Salisbury or something like that. I forget, but he was one of the first guys I saw really like show us like you can do this sort of stuff,
Do this big trick. Yeah.
Yeah, it was pretty cool. And then it wasn't until after that we started seeing the Southerners and whatever. But that was more through your comps, stuff like that. And then the big thing for us would have been the '98 X Games. So what was that? Was it invite only? Somehow, I think they contacted Track Cycles or something like this, and our names got thrown in there. Like, these guys you might be interested in, so they've contacted us.
Maybe
all
through Holmes and through that was up on the Gold Coast.
Gold Coast.
Beanley?
No, the first one was at Surfers.
Surfers.
Yep, you were there for it.
Yep.
Taj Helich was there and Ryan Barspinner. So they had 2 in the first year. They had 2 in '98.
Yep.
First one nearly got rained out.
Yes.
And that was basically like, we're going to do this in summertime from now on. And the next summer was still in '98, so it was the end of the year, sort of thing, December or something. So they ended up having 2 in the first year. And the first one, obviously, we all went to. We drove up with Mick's dad, me, Russell, Mick, and his dad drove from Adelaide straight to Queensland, no stops.
What's that? How long was that? 20 hours?
20-something, yeah, 25 maybe, all up. And we did that and rode the comp. And then somehow I managed to get second in that comp.
What were you competing? What was the event?
Dirt. Yeah, always dirt. Most of our comps were dirt. We rode street for fun, but we rode dirt in comps. So people knew us as dirt riders, I guess. But
what do you remember about the setup of the dirt jumps that particular year?
Well, I remember they had a jump on the roll-in and then a big 4-pack at the bottom. And it was wild trying to jump the jump on the down ramp of the roll-in and then still clear the big ones. So they ended up pushing the dirt aside and just having the roll-in. And it was like 30 foot, I guess, the first one, 25 for the second. They were big, like bigger than we'd ever jumped before. So we're thrown into this comp with jumps we've never done before. It was pretty nerve-wracking, freaking out. But on a side note, at the hotel we're at, Russell and Mick and myself had our bikes on the bike rack in the underground parking. Someone's cut the fence, got in there, stole 2 bikes off the rack, which was Mick's and Russell's. So their bikes got lost, and my bike stayed. And I was like, "Well, this is like fate. I gotta try to ride now because they can't ride." I think Russell borrowed like Steve McCann's bike or something and still tried to ride, but back then it's hard to borrow bikes. People are there to do their thing. So they kind of missed out, which is sad. But I just thought I'm gonna send it. I'm gonna try my best. And at the time, my best trick was a Superman seat grab X up. So I did it.
Nice. I think I've got some footage.
You got footage of it? Yes. Yep. The old fist bump in the air after it. But yeah, like a few people were struggling, and I managed to pull that one off and got me second. So I got second in that, which was huge. Pretty sure you came up to me at that comp and said, "Will you ride for Volatile?" I was like, "Yes, for sure."
If only I had something decent to offer.
Yeah. No, it was good. It was good. And yeah, that was a big deal at the time.
Yeah, it's so cool to see. A big effort to travel a huge distance.
Yeah.
I mean, there was a lot of Australian. Well, there wasn't that many. Like, as an invite only, it's a pretty elite level event.
Yeah, it was pretty awesome just to get an invite
card.
Yep.
And to get up there.
Yep.
And looking at the shape of the jumps now, and you look at what they build in comps now, you go, that was fairly average,
Yeah, it was. And a racer won that comp. Jason Cousins, he won that comp with a truck driver. I think I got second. I think Kenny Raggett got third, and then 4th and 5th was the Americans.
Yes.
They were trying to do crazy stuff and crashed, so otherwise they probably would have won it.
Yeah.
But it was pretty surreal to meet Taj Helich.
And so that was your first big, like you've done a few little comps with us in Adelaide.
I was 17, so like I only started riding when I was 15, so it was like 2 years in a big setting like that. It was a bit surreal.
And the X Games doesn't come to a show like it doesn't. No kids get the opportunity.
No, and it was.
I mean, are you familiar with? Are you in the sport today? Are there comps and are there many comps and events that a young kid could do this sort of stuff and come up through the ranks?
Oh, not really. Especially when it's invite only, you have to kind of prove yourself for a couple of years before you get invited. You have to sort of win a bunch of things and get noticed first before they sort of invite you to the X Games, because X Games is no joke. I mean, there's amazing riders not getting invited.
Yeah,
because it's a small group. Yeah.
So you got an X Games medal then? Did they give you a medal back then?
Yeah, I got a silver medal, and a nice paycheck and a bunch of TV coverage.
When
I came home, there was a bunch of friends saw me on TV a few months later and was spinning out. Had family members ringing me up. I saw you on TV.
Like a rock star.
Pretty cool. Pretty cool at the time. Mm.
So that gave you a bit of a taste for what could be. And where did you take that?
Oh, I just kept going with it. Like the next thing for me was I was 99, so a year later there's another X Games, and then there was a 99 X Games in Brisbane. So I went to that one, and I don't think I got fourth or something like that. But after that comp, there was the first ever X Air in New Zealand, and they had it in Hamilton, and Colin McKay, Clint Miller, and Corey Bowen were going, and Corey Bowen couldn't go. And Colin hit me up and said, "Have you got a passport?" I said, "No." He said, "We'll get one." I said, "Why?" And he's told me, and I'm like, "All right, done." So I've rushed out, got a passport as quick as I could. And the next thing I know, I had a paid trip to New Zealand. So airfare, accommodation, all that sort of stuff. And did my first overseas paid trip, which was like, all right, this is what I wanted, right? Like I get to travel now, and like get to do this. This is awesome. So I went there and did that. And got like third, I think Clint Miller won actually on the dirt, believe it or not.
Clint had some crazy skills, and to this day.
Yeah, he was all around. He did
Shout
a decade.
Out Clint too,
He did a decade and a whip and a 3 or something. Back then, this is 99, so a long time ago.
Yeah.
And Colin was there, and thanks to Colin, obviously. Colin McKay was a big thing for me. He helped me a lot.
He was a huge push in the Australian scene.
Yeah, especially after that. Like after that came my first ever America trip, which was 2001, and Colin's the reason that happened. He said to me, "If you can get over here." So he was like, "If you can get over here, I'll help you out."
Yep.
I said, "All right, what do I do?"
You got a lounge to sleep on.
Yeah, and so I saved up. I went back to Holden's and saved up for like 6 months straight, and saved up like $7,000. Quit my job, just booked the ticket, 3 months tourist visa, and just said to Colin, "Where do I fly to? New York or LA?" And he said, "Well, New York's closer to where I am." So I did that. Just flew to New York, and then literally went to New York. This is 2001, so. Pre-internet, pre-social media, all that, just on a whim, basically. Just rocked up in New York and then called him and said, "Where do I go?" He goes, "Well, you got to get to North Carolina, like in Greenville," which is where he was living. It's like 14 hours on a bus from New York. I was like, okay. So I did that, got on a bus and went there and ended up spending 3 months in Pro Town, I guess you call it. So Dave Mirra was there, Ryan Nyquist.
That was a big college city at the time.
Yeah, and that's all thanks to Colin, which he ended up doing for many riders after me as well. Like all the riders that went over there through him got all that instant, hook up straight to the top in a way.
The connections.
Right, we've got connections, yep. Like hanging out with
We got a place to stay and you can meet the locals.
Mm-hmm. Yep, and getting to ride with people like Dave Mirra was a bit of a dream come true in a way.
And what were the locals like? How did they treat you?
Awesome. They were great. The only shit talk I got from any of them was about having no brakes. And they were like, "What are you doing? Why haven't you even got brakes on your bike?" Like I had Mike Laird, who's an awesome guy, like legend of a guy. He ended up being one of the coolest guys up there. He was, he straight up said to me, "What are you doing, man? Like you could be so much better if you just put brakes on. You'd be so good. Like you should put brakes on. Stop fucking around." Like, and I remember saying to him, "I don't want to do Fufanu. I don't want to do a Fufanu. Like that's all you got over me is a Fufanu. Like, why do I need brakes?"
That's
I'm like,
not where your head goes.
I'm like, "I don't want to do Fufanus. I'm not interested. Like, so I'll be right, thanks." And he's just shaking his head like, "You're an idiot. You'd be fucking good if you just put brakes on." I'm like, "Nah, not interested."
If only you would have listened, Kim. He might have been good.
I know. He was awesome guy. He was real good to me. So, but I got to know Dave and Ryan, like Nyquist and that, all on like first name basis, and went to Woodward with Nyquist and a few other guys for a couple of weeks, and they took me around and just put me under their wing a little bit, gave me a whole bunch of gear, loaded me up with all this Fox gear and all this stuff, and they were sponsored by Dew Tour, Mountain Dew.
Yeah,
so they
that
had
was
all
big
these,
at the time, yep.
Yeah, they always had these awesome hookups, and they just fed it to you, like, "Here you go, what do you need? You need this, you need that?" And like, it was awesome.
BMX was really breaking through then. It was not a little dirty sport anymore. It was actually, people are watching this.
Yeah, they were on big money, those guys. I think it was probably the peak of the money.
A bit of a boom.
Yeah, early 2000s. It was probably the peak. They were getting the most money they've ever had, all those guys.
Big events,
and
big comps.
I was happy just to be there and get to know these guys. I wasn't trying to get money,
Yeah.
I was just working, living off the money I had for as long as I could, and then went back home after that.
So what was that? What were you doing? Like, you were there for 3 months, and was there? You just comps? You just riding? Was there a comp a month with prize money on offer, or how did?
I didn't see. I was early days, so I didn't have a plan like a lot of these guys do now. They sort of plan their trip around what comps are on and what contests are happening. I just went there, and whatever's on's on. So when I was there, they had a comp in California called Lake Perris CFB comp, so Matt Hoffman comp, and it was just dirt, park and vert or whatever it was, and I just booked a flight with Colin and that, went there, ended up staying on the floor with like Fuzzy Hall's room. He just said, you can have the floor if you want. I was like, thanks, man. So I slept on the floor and rode the comp and got like 19th out of, I think, 70 or 80 of their riders and in pro. Like, and that was another thing. I wasn't allowed to enter amateur because Colin said, you're a pro in Australia, you're a pro here.
Yep.
So do it pro. You'll get noticed more if you get 20th in pro than you will winning amateur. So I was like, okay, cool, whatever. So I ended up riding that and doing well and got like a double page photo with Losi and ride BMX. And that was just all these little bonuses along the way that, you know.
And what are your favourite tricks at that time? Like, you probably stand out because one, you're brakeless, but
brakeless.
Two, you got
new face, new style, I guess, back then.
What was some of your favourite tricks?
Well, I got a photo doing a no foot can tail whip, so just like Superman can off the side while I'm tail whipping. That was my photo in there, but at the time my best moves was probably truck driver variations, which I loved doing that. So I did a triple back trailer in the contest. So I did that and tail whip and some other stuff. I don't remember. I mean, I just remember little things like it was a trip because I was sponsored by Airwalk and I was wearing Foster Brothers shoes. And I was in the lineup to go up the ramp to jump jumps, and I hear this voice behind me like, "Nice shoes, bro." And I turn around, it was Brian Foster. So it's his shoes. So I'm wearing his signature shoes, and I look down, he's wearing the same shoes. I was like, "You too, bro." Just cool little things like that happening along the way. It was a buzz for me, you know, growing up watching all these dudes on videos, and then all of a sudden I'm there. It was pretty cool. It was definitely a highlight for me. For sure.
Mixing it up with them.
Just getting to know them on a first name basis. You know, I wasn't there to like step on anyone's toes. I just wanted to know them. Just wanted to ride with them.
Was there many other Aussies? I mean, there's Steve McCann's probably one of the early ones. Then Colin.
Yep.
Like, there's a few guys.
Yep. Stevie was
through.
around the same age as me. I think he's a tad younger, but Steve was a big rivalry for me. Steve McCann, growing up. In a lot of your comps too, he'd come over from Melbourne and
he'd make a big effort.
Yeah. So we'd go back and forth, and he'd beat me at one, and I'd beat him at another, and it was just a bit of rivalry there. But when I first went to Melbourne from Adelaide, I stayed at Stevie's house. So
that's went for one of the demos.
We did that as well. Yeah. We did a demo, with you. You hooked up one of the Supercross, I think it was Supercross demos or something like that. Yeah.
Yeah. What was in one of my memories for a BMX guy to ride a bike in front of 50 people or 20 people was a lot. We got the chance to do this halftime entertainment with the Monster Trucks or the Supercross or something.
Yeah, I think Monster Trucks was the first one.
And
there was like probably 10,000 people there or something like that.
Do you remember, what's your memories of how did we get to the demo? Like, how many days did we have to prepare or whatever? What time did we have?
I don't remember many of the details, to be honest, because it was a while ago. And I've had a bit of a life now, so it's hard to remember a lot of these details. But I remember having like no time to build the jump. Like, they literally built the jump while the motocross guys were warming up or something, and they've just given us like a little corner in just straight out of the underground section into a jump, you know, like, so I think we had their berm as a landing or their berm, and they just added a bit on for our landing, and they built us a lip real quick. So we was trying to run this jump in real fast, and just the crowd, we've never seen a crowd like that, so the adrenaline was through the roof. And I'm pretty sure you were like, just do a few jumps before you start doing backflips. And we're like, yeah. And I think one or two of us did one jump, and then someone did a backflip straight away, and it was on. It was just flip. Try and flip variations. Like, I tried to flip can, which I'd only ever done into the water, you know, like just stuff like that. I think Mick and Russell trying to do no-handed ones, just stuff we weren't really ready for yet, but we're like, just go for it.
People had not seen a backflip. Like, that was a new trick.
Yep.
Like,
it was huge back then.
Yes,
it was. The motocross guys couldn't do it, so we were a good little highlight.
Even the BMX guys, very few BMXers were actually doing them.
Yep,
you know.
Yeah. Before us, it was Ross, Richter, and Pelican, people like that. But then sort of as they sort of slowed down or wasn't doing it as much, we were like the next generation doing it, you know. So that's why I guess we got the demos, because that's what people wanted to see.
That's it.
So
Yes, a few people got put out because
and we didn't know that at the time. We just got asked to do a demo.
You just understand. The crowd wants to see it, but no matter what else you do, they just want to see it back.
There's always going to be someone unhappy, no matter what happens. But we were oblivious to a lot of that stuff growing up, I guess, because we were far away from everyone up north of Adelaide.
Because you got into backflips and then you kind of stopped doing them, didn't you?
I did, yeah. I personally did. I remember landing on my head trying to do one day, and I thought, you know what, like this, I'm over this. This is shit. Like the other boys were doing it anyway, so like I don't need to do it. So I started really concentrating on 360s, and I learnt tail whips. I mean, I kept trying to do tail whips, and they were really hard. I couldn't figure them out, and then so I bought a trampoline and built a tramp bike and learned them on the trampoline like for a few days straight, and then went to Gregorov's little jumps there in Valley Vista or wherever it was, and did one. Finally pulled one, and then that just snowballed for me. You know, it wasn't long after that I was doing 3 whips and just whipping everything. So I became more favorite. My favorite thing was tail whips and 360s. I just left the flips alone.
Yeah,
I could still do them, still did them occasionally, but just wasn't really chasing it like I was when I was younger. I guess, you know. Yeah. Plus Mick and that were doing them everywhere, and so I was like, I don't need to do it. The boys have got that covered. I'll do something else. And a lot of my writing sort of went that way. Like I just wanted to be a bit more original, and I didn't want to just copy what everyone else was doing. So I was like kind of innovating a lot of stuff back then for us, you know, like nose jam tail whips on quarter pipes and stuff like that. I would spend hours and hours figuring it out.
Just the balance and the brakeless.
Yeah, just foot jam stuff, you know. Like I had a little phase at Skate Effects where I put back brakes on my bike, like purposely to learn foo-fanoos. I was like, I want to do what everyone else does, just so I can do it. And I just put them on for a few days at Skate Effects, and I learnt foof to ice to fakie, foof, you know, all these foo-fanoo variations. And then I took the same brakes and I put them on a brake plate, put it on the front, like for the next week, and learnt all the nose pick stuff.
Yeah.
No-footed nose picks and Canadians and all this sort of stuff.
Found the balance point.
Yeah, just figured it out. I was like, all right, that's not as scary as I thought it was going to be. Took them off and then just learned everything with my foot. I was like, you know, whatever I can do with the brakes, I should be able to do with a foot. So, you know, figured all that out. And just I was into the challenge more than anything.
Yeah.
It was a bit more challenging for me mentally to do the technical stuff and do it without brakes, you know, whereas everyone had to do it. Like, people just couldn't do it without brakes. It wasn't a thing. You didn't do it without brakes. So I was like, all right. So it was a challenge. So, you know, I learnt nose pick tail whips, and you had to hop back in to pull it. And I was like, no, I'm going to do it like the guys with brakes do, and I'm going to catch the bike, and then I'm going to hop in. And it took me a while, but I figured it out and started doing them like that. And I know there's no one else out there doing it, you know. So I was just like, that sort of stuff tickled me a bit more.
That was where your brain wanted to figure stuff out.
Yeah, because I wasn't.
And how often are you like?
I wasn't just a
how
hucker.
often are you riding at this stage? Do you ride every day?
Oh yeah. Every day you could. Yeah, yep. Pretty much, if the weather was bad, was the only reason you're not riding, or you'd be indoors riding. So once Skate Effects opened, then we were riding all winter. Before that, it was digging in winter, building the jump ready for the drier weather. But once that was open, we'd dig a bit, but then we'd go ride at night at Skate Effects, you know, and focus on the ramps and stuff.
So you'd travel a bit, and then you'd always come back. And then you're still in Adelaide at this point?
I was in Adelaide up until 20 years old. Yep. So probably a solid 5 years of Adelaide. Maybe 5, close to 6 of Adelaide. And then during the last probably year of Adelaide, I would start going to Melbourne for contests and stuff. And Mark from Strictly actually hit me up from Melbourne and said, I've got a demo at the Royal Melbourne show. I need a couple of guys. You know, I was like, me and Mick will come over and we'll do it. And we got paid to do demos for like a week and 2 weeks straight. And then there was a comp at the end on the same jump that we were doing demos on, the same jumps. So it was a no-brainer. Let's do that. Right? We stay on Mark's floor.
Sandbagged it.
Yeah, we just sleep on Mark's floor for the week and a half, and then ride this comp, and then ride the demos, win the comp at the end.
Yeah.
Make a few grand and come back to Adelaide. You know, and that was happening quite a lot, to the point where Mark was saying you should move to Melbourne. This is like right around 2001. You should move. You should move. If you're here, you could do all the demos. We got lots of demos. We got box jump demos everywhere. You can make a bit of money.
It was pretty big, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And that's up the coast, and they had big days out, and they had things like every now and then you'd have a big event that would actually pay something decent for a ramp set up.
Yeah. Even the small demos, they were giving us $500 for the day. Like just to do a 3 box jump shows. Each show was 15, 20 minutes, and it spread out over
to ride your bike
a few hours. It was like, no worries, man, we'll do this. So I ended up going, fuck it, I'm going to move. And a friend of mine, Strut, his name was Michael Strut. He was keen to get out of Adelaide too. He lived right around the corner from me. I was like, let's do it. Let's try it out. Why not? So we packed up and moved and went over there. And as soon as we got there, like within a month of being there, the whole insurance thing happened where insurance went through the roof.
To
liability, running events, all that just changed overnight. Like it was, I don't know what happened that sparked it, but all of a sudden there was no demos. It was like, we're over there now and there's no demos. And then I think Mark was like, sorry, man. He's like, I didn't know this was going to happen. I'm like, yeah, all good. So we got jobs and we was living in the share house, and that's where kind of my whole Melbourne stay started.
You got a real job in Melbourne at what age, and what did you do?
I was 20. I was 20 when I was there, so...
And what did you find for a real job?
Well, at very first, I think the first job we did was like a marquee tent hire company where we just set up marquees for some guy. It was horrible.
Weddings and events or whatever.
Yeah, exactly. Horrible job. Up in the crack of dawn in the rain, didn't matter, because the whole point of having a marquee was because it was raining.
Yeah.
So it would be raining, you'd be setting up this thing, and it was just horrible. Like, Strut ended up doing it for a while, but I was just like, nah, I'm out of here. So I went somewhere else and did something else. Ended up working for a doctor as a receptionist. So I was on a desk answering phones. Did that for a while. Then I got a job at Australia Post on a motorbike doing courier work. So I was couriering around on a motorbike through Melbourne, not knowing where I was going. With just the Melways.
Yeah, no
internet,
phone thing on
no
you.
maps, no nothing.
Yeah.
So for the first few weeks, I was pulling over every job and looking into Melways to figure out where I was going. But that helped a lot because I hadn't been in Melbourne long, and now I'm learning whole Melbourne.
Yeah. All
Landscape,
shortcuts.
everything. Yeah, just like within a 5K radius of the city, I knew my way around like real quick. So came in real handy for spots. I'd be finding street spots all the time, writing them down, going there and riding them, catching trains. Mick would come over from Adelaide at the start and hang out and ride as much as we can.
And you met some locals? You fit in with the locals?
It took a little while. I remember at first I didn't really gel with anyone.
Because they would have still, at that age, they knew who you were. They would have known.
Well, thanks to you.
We knew interstaters. We knew Kim and Mike and Matt. We knew plenty of people from interstate.
Yeah, I think thanks to the Volatile videos. I mean, we didn't realise that you were selling videos not just in Adelaide. So we had no idea when we first got going interstate that people had seen us on videos, not just in Australia, but overseas even. So that helped a lot. People already sort of knew who we were, so we got in the door a bit quicker. But it was still people have lifelong friends. Like when you move to a new state, you don't have that.
Fit into that group. It sometimes can be hard.
And for me, it didn't happen for a while. And I remember just living there going, what am I doing here? Like, this is a place that's dark and gloomy, and wasn't really a fan of Melbourne at the first because Adelaide's different. Adelaide weather's better. I don't know. It's just you grew up in Adelaide, that's all you know. So Melbourne was a bit full on for me. I didn't like it. I mean, Mick would come and go on trips, and me and Strut stayed there. And then I was contemplating coming back to Adelaide, and I was like, I'll just stick it out a bit longer.
Keep that in there a bit more.
Yeah, stick it out a bit longer. And then ended up running into a guy from Canberra actually, Marcus Rousel. Ran into him, and he was there with his mates, which are all from Cooma, New South Wales, near Thredbo and all that. And that was their crew from there, but they were street riders, which I kind of associated myself more with those days. Instead, it wasn't so much dirt anymore. I was more into street. So ended up hanging out with those guys, and they were very similar to me. They like to do similar stuff, and we all sort of got along a lot better. And yeah, they invited me over their house one night, and then that was it. I was part of their crew for a while. And yeah, this sort of got me more comfortable with Melbourne through that, having actual crew or friends, So I was like, all right, sweet. So I stayed, ended up moving in with them, and we had share houses all over Richmond in Melbourne, just out of the city. And did that for the next 5-6 years, I think it was. yeah, I mean, so much has happened though. Because
And at the in those, pause still. Just don't go too far. In those years, are you're getting travelling back overseas? You're getting a few more demos. You're getting.
Yep.
What else are you doing?
Because by that point, Strictly are sponsoring me. They sponsor me, and they're basically hooking me up with. I was on We the People for a bit, and then I was on Fly, all through the distro, that sort of stuff. And then they got me on McNeil. So McNeil bikes around 2005, I think. So around sort of the same time I was with all of those guys, and then I started getting flowed there. And McNeil ended up doing a trip to Brisbane, Sydney, something like that. And Zach Masasa, another kid from Melbourne, and myself were on the flow team, I guess, and they invited us to come meet them and do a tour with them. So once we did that, they were like, "Oh, yeah, we want you on the team." Like, I was like, "Hell yeah, this is sick."
You got some skills.
So I got hooked up directly with them and not through a distro anymore. So that changed a lot. And then, 2006, I did my first trip to Canada for the Whistler Red Bull comp, big dirt comp. And by that point, I'm a street rider. I'm known as a street rider by that point, but I still ride dirt. Like, I still could ride dirt. And I ended up riding a dirt comp up there and doing pretty well. Like, made the finals and then got 13th or something out of 70, 80 riders from around the world. So it was pretty cool, especially because McNeil sponsored me as a street rider, not knowing I rode dirt. So to see me do well in the dirt comp, they were like, "Damn, this kid's good." So that helped a lot. Yeah, and I ended up going on a few more trips because of them, and then.
So are they paying you a bit of a wage, or how's their support?
Never
with
a
something
paycheck.
like that?
Never got a paycheck. It was always just, we'll pay for your trip, pay for your accommodation, we'll look after you.
Bit of spending money.
Yeah, we'll be there with a credit card so we can buy you food and stuff. And so I went on a lot of trips with $10 to my name. For 2 weeks, China for 2 weeks with $10. England for a month.
Living the dream.
With $20 in my pocket,
Living the dream, hey?
Come back to Australia broke, and then back to work, get back on my feet again.
It was
the best. Yeah, and I don't regret any of it. It was the best. It was the best part about it for me was traveling.
You did that for a long time. You did that for quite a while.
Yeah, did it from this literally late 90s, end of 90s, right up until 2019 was the last one that I did.
So nearly 20 years.
Yeah.
Bikes would cover a lot of your lifestyle. As happy as what that makes you.
I'd work any odd job on the side just to make ends meet, and then I would, if I got money through BMX, bonus, did demos here and there that paid all right, and then lived off that money for a bit. But it always...
You kind of got paid to ride your bike. It wasn't a wage. It was but you had enough to get you to the next thing.
I relate it to being like a musician, and not a good one, like a one that's gets by, but they do it because they love it. That's what I relate it to. It was never did it for the money, but the money I got helped me keep doing it.
An artist.
So I was happy.
You're an artist on a BMX bike.
I never knew I was never going to be rich from it, which is fine by me. That's not what I was in it for,
Yeah.
So it was good. No regrets at all. I'm not bitter.
No.
A lot of guys come out bitter at the end because it didn't happen or whatever. But I saw the world a few times over. Never paid for it.
Yeah.
So I'm not complaining.
Let's not get back too close to now. Let's stay back around 2005, 2006. Mm-hmm. So what are some of the standouts? Was it events? Was it demos? You got to travel. How does that stuff happen? How did that happen for you?
Yeah, well, that was still pre-internet, right? So internet wasn't really till 2007 onwards. It started probably really coming into play. So for then it was still contests. It was getting invite to contests, and you just email your sponsor and say, "I've got invited to here. What do you think?" And they'd be like, "Yep, sweet. Send you tickets and off you go." For me, Vans, I ended up riding for Vans shoes. I got sponsored by an American team, the Vans crew in America, which was better than the Australian one, far as I knew. So, and they were like, "We can't really pay you, but we can give you a travel budget as much as you want." Basically, I was like, "Okay, well, I'll take that." So my first trip was Estonia, on the edge of Russia. $3,000 flight. And the next one was China, $3,000 flight return, So it was, for me, it was better than getting paid, because paychecks were they were literally offering you a couple of $100 a month. It was nothing.
No.
So I was like, I don't care about the money. I just want to go. So I did that, and that was probably the biggest thing. So if I get an invite via email, or just forward it to Vans and say, "Can I go?" I'm like, "Yeah, here's your ticket." They literally reply with a ticket. they've already booked it and then sent me the ticket. Like, here you go. Like, okay, guess I'm going then. You know. So
is that when Colin was in there, or?
No, before Colin.
Yeah.
Yep. I think he might have just been a
They're
rider.
big supporters,
just a rider, yeah. But Jerry
And how long
Batters-
did that last? How long did that?
Oh, that was like mid-2000s, right up until I stopped. Like,
No shit.
Yeah. I even, like, towards the end, I just stopped asking for stuff because I wasn't really riding like I was and traveling.
You didn't feel like you're giving them
Yeah,
value.
I was like, things are changing. But I just still rep the gear for as long as I could. But
they brought you into part of their family.
They did heaps for me, considering I was never supposed to be on the team. You know, I was like, it all happened through McNeil. Like Jamie Miron basically said, "Can you put him on?" And they said, "Oh, we can give him a bit of flow," and that's how it started. And then I just ended up being the best sponsor I had. So I'm not complaining at all.
Yes, shout out to them. I love my bands. You know,
Yeah, but yeah, I don't know. A lot of things, so many things happened. Like,
it's how many countries did you go to? Like, give us a bit of a quick list.
well, for me, it was like just Europe. A lot of places in Europe, like England and France and Belgium and Estonia, like Asia. I did China. I did Malaysia, Singapore Metro Jam,
And is this come and go, or you kind of link them up and you're doing a few?
No,
or not? You go there,
come
you
and
come
go.
back. You
Come
go
and
there
go.
and come
I
back.
mean, I ended up living in Canada for a few years, so I did a lot of traveling from Canada to those contests and then back to Canada, or I was coming from Melbourne to the contest and back to Melbourne, and then going back to concreting. Like, take 2 weeks off of concreting to go ride.
So in between all this, you
I'm
do
working.
have a day job.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Okay.
Yeah, because I got to pay rent, right? Like I was in where we go.
You're getting free holidays.
Yeah.
But you still got to,
I went
live
to,
day to day.
like, a perfect example was like I went to Estonia for the simple sessions, like one of the early ones of those. And from that contest, McNeil flew me to England to do, had a DVD called Brighton Ain't Ready. And we're based in Brighton. You had a week to spend with your team filming around Brighton, and then you go. And at the end of the week, the guys that were running the DVD sort of thing was 70s distro, and they said they were loving me. They were like, "Did you want to stay?" And I said, "I'd love to stay, but I've got to go back to Melbourne to work to pay my next rent. Like my next rent's due in a couple of weeks, so I've got just enough time to go back and work and make that happen." So. And then they come back to me and they go, "How much is your rent?" They're like, "If we pay your rent and then give you food money and all that, will you stay? Will you stay a bit longer?" I was like, "Hell yeah. It's the only reason I'm going home is to pay my rent, like, so I don't lose my place." And they're like, "Sweet." So they paid my rent from England, sent it to like one of my roommates. There you go, there's my next month's rent. So, and I stayed another month and I ended up filming a full section for their DVD.
And who are you hanging out with? Who are some of the people in that environment?
I was pretty much just with, like, McNeil was the first crew in that house. They basically rented a house for 6 months, and then we all came and gone during that 6 months. And the first month I was there by myself pretty much, and Dan Lacey was one of the only other crew that would come and hang out and we'd go riding. So he was riding for them at the time, I think, for Federal. So it was their project.
Did you find a difference between the community in America and England? Did you?
Yeah.
Did you feel a difference?
I felt more comfortable in England.
Yeah.
And it made sense because we're from there, so it totally made sense. Like, there's a fish and chip shop on every corner, and very like-minded people. You know, like, you'd have a laugh, they could talk shit and cop shit and not be offended. Whereas America, it was a bit different.
Okay.
Like I loved America. Don't get me wrong, loved it. And like the guys I hung out with were all awesome, but you had to be careful what you said in America.
In an open environment.
Yeah, just because
amongst your buddies.
Well, the Australian humour doesn't go down as well in America as it does in England. So England are very similar, similar people. So
handle a few more swear words and
just talking shit on each other, like just for a joke, for a bit of fun, you know. Like you do that in America, they take it serious. Like you're really ripping on them, like you don't like them, and it's like no, I'm just playing, man. Like I
did your gun in your bathers.
I did it to Steve Crandall once. Like he was giving me shit about. It was funny because he was giving me shit about case in a box jump, and I was laughing like, yeah, that's hilarious, whatever, it's funny. And then he turned around and encased the same box jump. And I started ripping into him. And then I think Colin McKay pulled me aside and said, hey, man, like,
go easy.
You're not in Australia. Hey, like, don't do that. I'm like, but he started it. Like, I'm just fucking going back, you know? And he's like, no, they're not like us. Like, please just say you're sorry and all this. I'm not fucking saying I'm sorry. He wants to rip me. I'm ripping him back, you know? It's just that
stand your ground.
Different dynamic.
Again, and Colin's a different guy like that.
Colin had previous experiences that he knew.
Yeah.
So he was onto it and he was trying to look after me, you know? So, yeah. But
that makes you the character that you are, though, doesn't it?
Yeah.
You
like,
got to do
spoke
what's
my
for
mind.
you. Yeah.
Grew up in a place where you talk shit, you got to back it up, and that's how we do it.
And so at this time, you're a single, young, handsome man.
Yeah,
through most of that.
Yeah.
Traveling the world, you didn't have a partner back here to say...
No, I made sure of it.
Yeah.
I made sure I didn't have a partner because I knew I was traveling.
Your bike was your partner.
Yeah, I had a few along the way that wanted to be serious, and I said, nope, no, I'm chasing this dream in a way, and I'm not going to be held back, so sorry.
So what, every year, pretty much for 20 years, you would be going in a different country, someone's flying you to somewhere, 2-3 times a year?
Yeah, at least, yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Man,
fucking awesome.
That sounds like pretty cool.
And the best thing about it was because it's BMX, like wherever you went, you'd be straight into their community. So straight into their crews, or, you know, they're showing you around and you're staying at their house.
You're doing stuff you all like together.
Yeah.
It's not like you're catching it with a horse rider.
They're taking you out to the bars. They're taking you out to the clubs that are like that are good for, you know, our kind of people and all the rest. So it was awesome. It's like not just being, you were not a tourist. You're like a local everywhere you went. You just got brought into it. So it was the best.
From the first years you went to the last, did you notice has it changed? Did it change over that 20 years, or is the community still just as strong and just as loving?
I think it's just as strong. It's just the dominant social media aspect of it now, and a little bit like too cool for school is a little bit.
Some people get a little bit pretentious about the experience,
or just like just back then when I did it, like. They were stoked to meet you because you're from another place and you can ride and you're into it and you love it and that sort of thing. Whereas now it's like you got to be kind of popular where you're from to go straight to the popular crew where you're at. And like,
if you're not doing double backflips, I don't know if you're going to fit with us.
Well, I saw it happen a few times. Like whereas like dudes that used to embrace me like would kind of shun you a bit more because someone more popular is there. Like you know what I mean?
Which happens everywhere.
All right, cool. So you're not a real dude. You're just chasing the spotlight or something like. And that still happens. Like I hear about it through some of the younger guys I know that are sort of up there right now. So I hear about it.
Oh man, it's tempting because now there actually is a place. If you filmed a good part, it could make a difference.
Yeah.
It would make a real difference. Back then, it doesn't. Someone watched it and they went, that was cool.
If you made a part, it wouldn't get around the world back then. It would get around your country maybe, but it wouldn't go around the world. But now you just put it on.
A few hundred, few thousand.
Yeah.
10, that's a lot. But now it's millions could
like,
watch something.
One of the best writers now in my eyes is like Lewis Mills. He's a legend. Good kid too, like really good. And he put out a part that ended up being like the best part of the year. Nora Cup, won the Nora Cup. Dudes all over the world losing their shit over it because they can all see it. They can all watch it on YouTube. It's all getting spread around by all these other pros because it's like, well, check out Louis' banger. Like it's fucking crazy. And it was like the modern day Criminal Mischief Van Homan part, you know, which was like for our era, that was the shit. That was like everyone wanted to be like that, you know? So that happens more now because of the internet. Whereas back in the day, like I would have put out one of my best parts and only people in Australia saw it. Yeah. You know, like these dudes just didn't hear about it. It didn't get shared enough to get seen and like just went under the radar, you know, like so a lot of that happened. Whereas now I guess it's a bit more, you know, accessible.
I got to check a camera again. Is BMX as rebellious today as it was in 2005, do you think?
I think it depends on who you're talking to, who the crew is.
In your experience, like you'd ride through the day, you'd have an event, and at the end of the night, everyone goes crazy and mad. Yeah. Was there a different sort of madness after the show than now?
I think it still happens. It was just more raw back then because of the whole social media and internet aspect of it, I guess. So you could get up to mischief and no one would really see. And so people got a bit more wild because they get away with it. Whereas now, everyone's filming everything on their phone. So you got to be careful what you do.
So maybe a little more conscious and reserved.
Yeah,
perhaps.
I think so. Yeah, and then there's some guys that still go hard for
they're just because they want to be the guy that jumped off the roof.
There's still some young guys that go real hard with it and like keep the old school
Rip
mentality
the fire
alive.
extinguisher, set fire to something.
But yeah, I guess it was back then. It was like a lot like driven by skateboarding and sort of that sort of side of it. It was a little bit more wild. But yeah, I don't know.
Not so.
I don't know. I never really got into the too wild shit. I didn't party real hard. I was never into partying. I was never into getting wasted too much. I did it all when I was a teenager.
Yep.
So in my 20s and 30s, and I wasn't interested at all.
Which is probably why you got to ride your bike for 20 years.
Probably,
and that's why
yeah.
people that saw you they go, yeah, actually, you're a fucking good bloke with a decent head on your shoulders.
Well, I think the biggest thing of longevity was being able to crash. And
get back up.
Yeah, or just knowing how to crash and not being scared to crash.
Yeah.
So that's a big mentality that a lot of guys didn't have. They'd like get hurt and that would be it. They'd be like, oh, I'm not messing with that anymore.
Yeah.
Whereas I'd be like that. That's just shit happens. Like, keep moving.
On that note, what have been some of your injuries? What laid you up for a bit?
Worst injury that still affects me to this day is my knee. I blew my knee out, and I was like 20, early 20s. I blew it out, and it's never been the same. I rode for a long time and sort of put up with a lot of pain, I guess, and a lot of uncomfortable things, but I managed to keep riding as long as I wanted to. But as soon as I fully stopped, which is only a few years ago now, that I fully really backed off, I've noticed, okay, that's definitely a lifetime injury. Like, I'm going to be dealing with that forever.
You wake up on a cold morning and you go,
a bit sore, I lost a bit of cartilage and, whatever else. But
was that ops along the way?
I had a full recon and did the whole thing and the rehab and everything, but still never the same. Never the same. They took out like 70% of my cartilage, and so it's like more bone on bone, I guess, with hardly any cushion.
What was that surgery? Was that in the public system, the private system? Did they do a good job? Because if you did that back then, I know I had a knee, and I reckon the work experience kid did mine.
No, I was very fortunate. And one of the other situations, I got very lucky because mine was done privately with no private health insurance. So mine was basically my local doctor in Melbourne was an awesome guy that had a lot of foster kids, and he liked helping young people out, and he took a little bit of a shine to me, I guess, because from a rough place and had a head on my shoulders, and he wanted to help me. So I basically wasn't going to do anything about my knee. I just said, well, there's nothing I can do, and he's like,
keep limping.
Yeah, and he's like, can your parents help you and whatever else? And I said, no, they can't. Like, they're not in a situation to help. So he goes, what are you going to do? I'm like, I'm just going to put up with it and go back to work, deal with it. And he's like, you can't do that. I said, well, I'm going to have to. And he's like, no, let's make some phone calls. And he called a friend of his, which was at the time some football doctor in Melbourne at the place called the Avenue. It's a little private hospital around the corner from where I was living. And he sent me down there, and then they liked me. His fucking anaesthetist liked me. They were like, we like you. We want to help you. You seem like a good kid, and we just want to help you. So we're going to do it for cost price.
And they kind of
So they did it for cost price, and my local doctor paid for it.
Do you remember his name?
Yeah, David Kings. He's not around anymore. He's passed away. He's older gentleman. But yeah, he paid for my knee surgery, straight out gave me a check. And 2 days after that consultation with him, I was in getting surgery.
That's pretty nice to have
awesome.
the opportunity to give him a little shout out.
Yeah, totally. And then he ended up, after that, he bought me a knee brace, CTI knee brace, which was like $1,000. And then he gave me a job working on a receptionist, what I was talking about earlier.
Oh, yes.
As a doctor's receptionist. So I was working for him, and then I started trying to pay him off for the money he gave me. And he literally took 2 payments off me, and then the third one he handed it back to me. He goes, "No, I can see you were going to pay it. That's all I needed." He goes, "I don't need the money. I'm doing quite well." And so he just let me go, and I was like, that's awesome. Thanks.
Nice when nice people recognise nice people.
Yeah, appreciated it a lot. Couldn't have thanked him anymore. He ended up looking after a bunch of my friends as well. Like the house I lived in, we all got free medical through him. Like anything, we're just straight to him, free consultations. Like anyone that lived or was close to me.
What a good man.
Yeah, and he would send me to the pharmacy with a written note, and they'd give me all the pharmacy stuff for free as well. Like, it was probably the best sponsor ever. Like one of the best.
Yeah, you're talking about sponsors. There you go.
Pretty much a sponsor. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it was good. He looked after me. I was very lucky. Yeah.
And so, who were some of those other sponsors? Take a minute to thank. I mean, you can thank. There's a few other sponsors that you could thank. We're not at the end of this by any means.
No.
But if you remember a few names.
Well, Mark from Strictly was a big one because he put me in front of a lot of people and helped me, connect me to a lot of things. I mean, you could thank Jay Muron, even though there's some issues there. Had some shit happen with him that you could delve into if you wanted to.
Sure. Let's be controversial. Come on.
Yeah, you want to? Yeah,
we're all big boys now.
Yeah, I had some shit happen that was not the best thing in my career that could have happened, and apart from that, it was all...
What was the circumstance around that experience?
Well,
you travelled to a comp or an event? Or?
No, I did a few trips with them and got along with backstory to Muron is he was in Australia on a McNeil trip, and myself and Bazan were in Sydney riding street, and we ran into them. They didn't know who we were. We realised who they were real quick when we got up close, and they were filming some street, and we were there filming. And at the time, I was recovering from my knee surgery, so I wasn't riding. I was just filming Mick going nuts, fucking destroying everything. And they were there fucking riding some rail, and it was like a guy named John Heaton trying to ice pick this rail, and he just took him a few goes, and he ended up tagging the end of the rail, and he calls it like, yeah, that'll do. And then they sat back, and then we were like, I was like, do you mind if my mate rides this rail? Like, you guys cool with that? They're like, yeah, go for it. And like, we both had no...
See what you can do, Aussie.
Yeah, no brakes, right? Some kids they'd never met before. And Mick turns around and grinds a rail first go, and then comes back and goes, oh, I want to ice it as well. And I was like, fuck it, just do it. We'll film it. We just won't run the clip because they're obviously going to use it. But we'll do it. And Mick
That's a bit of respect there.
Yeah, well, yeah, that's all you can do. Like, especially if you want to do the same trick, that's the least you can do is not run the clip, you know?
Well, if you nailed it, the other guy didn't.
Well, yeah, that's what he did. He came through and grinded like 3/4 of this rail, like top to bottom, like perfect, proper ice pick. And it was like a 14-stair rail, like a decent rail. And as soon as he landed it, like... the guys were like, all right, we'll see you later. We're not going to hang around with them. We're not going to tag along and be those guys. So we'll just say see ya. And we said see ya. And then Heaton turns around and goes, yeah, thanks for showing me up, asshole. But then they're all laughing, you know? Like, yeah. But I was like, but really, it was a bit...
You got to understand the humour. Hopefully nothing got lost in translation.
We rode away laughing our heads off. I was like, you just fucking champed John Heaton like a motherfucker. Like, you just showed them what's up. And then anyway, years later, when I'm on McNeil now, I'm talking to Muron, and he's like, I've actually met you before. And he's like, oh, yeah, okay. Me and my buddy were riding the street one day in the uni in Sydney, and we came across you guys. And he's like, oh, holy shit, I remember that. He goes, was it you that did the ice pick? I'm like, no, it was Mick, you know. And he's like, yeah, he fucking did this ice pick, like no brakes, rah, rah, rah. And like instantly it was just in because of this.
Bro mode.
Yeah, it was in. So I was like, fucking hell. And he's a legend. Looked up to him a lot. So I was like, fuck yeah, stoked to get the ride for him. Anyway, did a few trips for him. And then it was all going really well. They were like basically telling me to move to Canada. And I was like, oh, fucking hell. It's a big move to Canada. I don't know. And they're like, I'll get a 2-year working visa.
And you've met twice.
Yeah, well, we've been on a couple trips at this point, so we know him pretty well. And he's like, you know, there's a place for you on the team for sure. You just got to get over here. If you can get over here, we can do a lot more for you. Blah blah blah. All this shit. The sponsors.
What year?
It's 2008. 2008. Yep. So I did a couple trips before that, and like went really well. Like filmed a web edit in 2007 or something like that for him. I was in Vancouver for a week and a half, and I filmed like a 4.5 minute video in a week and a half, which they were like blown away by at the time. Like, no one does that. That's a full length part that takes 6 months to a year to film normally, you know. And I just went on a tear and
smashing it.
I was just psyched to be there. Like, dream come true. Finally getting road trips like overseas. I'm going to make the most of it. So I was really in the good books with him. And then he told this guy named Scottish John to like a bunch of shit, and Scottish John pulled me aside. He's like, you know, a decent guy. I wouldn't take.
I know Scottish John.
Yeah, I wouldn't think he was talking shit. So I took his word for it, and he said, look, they want to give you a signature frame. They want to sponsor you. They want to pay you. Like, you just got to move to Canada. Are you able to do that? I'm like, fuck it, why not? Let's do it. So at the time, I convinced Mick to come with me. So get a visa, come with me. I'll go first. You come a couple of weeks later, and we'll see what happens. And so we did that, and I got over there. And then it was all going well. I was staying at his house, Jamie Muron's house, for a couple of weeks. And then I was at the warehouse, and they had a whiteboard, and it had Grosser signature frame. Like, so all this shit I've been hearing about was like, looked like it was happening.
Yeah,
it was happening. And I was like, fuck, that was sick. Fuck, you know, I've only been riding like, what, 15 years at this point. Like I'm
And
like,
this might be the big.
like this finally might
for
happen.
BMX, it's the
Finally
big
might
time.
happen. Yeah,
Yeah.
finally might not have to work a job on the side so much. You know, like whatever. It is what it is. And Mick come over. Mick staying with me at his house, and then one night he had some shit go down with a pivotal seat. So he's the one
Because they were doing the initial bolt through the seat. Yes.
So his partner Darcy designed this signature pivotal seat, and it was going to change BMX in a good way, and they were going to benefit big time. So all these plans he had was because this seat was going to blow
This
up.
prototype.
The seat was going to blow up. So they went to Taiwan. They got the seat made. They came back. They didn't patent it. So Taiwan were like, "Fucking, this is big. This is big." So
It was a fucking good seat.
Taiwan patented it without them knowing. So they've gone to patent it. It's like
There's no royalty. There's
nothing. They got screwed. So all this shit was happening behind closed doors
because of that potential.
Yeah. So they fucking screwed him basically, and we didn't know. We were just there riding, doing trips, having a great time, thinking that this is going to be awesome. And he was just stressing out over it. And one night he just says, "Oh, you guys can't be here. You got to leave." And I'm like, in downtown Vancouver in Canada, don't know anyone. And you go, "I got to leave. This is nighttime. Get your bags and get out." I'm like, "You fucking serious? Like, where am I going to go?" He's like, "I don't care. I don't know. Like, I just need some space." I'm like, all right. And like leading up to that, he was telling me he was going to help me find somewhere to stay, possibly help me get a part-time job just to make things a bit better. But he knew everyone, I knew no one. So all of a sudden I'm homeless with Mick.
With literally minutes up your sleeve.
Yeah, at nighttime, like we're homeless in fucking downtown Vancouver. And I was like, what the fuck? And Mick's looking at me like, what the fuck is going on? Like, this is fucking crazy. I'm like, I don't
Push
know.
your friendship.
I don't know.
You brought me here.
Yeah, well,
now
yeah,
what?
no, Mick stuck with me, like hardcore. Mick was like down. Mick could be by my side no matter what happens, right?
Yeah.
Like we'd fuck shit up together. Like we'll be sweet. We'll figure it out. But like, just reality check. Like, holy shit, I'm on the other side of the world and I'm homeless. Like, what the fuck? So we literally went to like an internet cafe that was 24 hours and stayed there all night because we didn't know what to do, you know. Like, and then like did that for a couple of nights and did a couple other things so we didn't have to sleep, you know, like just because
Too rough.
right? I don't want to sleep anywhere in the middle of the night, so we'd sort of do stuff to stay up all night, if you know what I mean, and then lay down in a park somewhere in the daytime where it's safe, you know.
And what you got? Your let's a backpack and a bike.
bike bag, and a bike, and fucking I had a guitar,
Everything.
my acoustic guitar,
Yeah.
and I was like, and we were broke, right? Like no money. So
Busking Kim.
I was like, I said to Mick, I said, "Oh, fucking, if worst come to worst, I'll busk." If
You
you,
do some
he goes, "I'll
freestyle."
fucking sing. I don't care." So I was like, "All right, if we run out of every last penny we got, we're going downtown. We're busking, right?" And then, but then anyway, we ran running up. Fucking a few days later, we ran into this guy named Surrey Steve. Shout out to Surrey Steve, legend, awesome guy. He said, "What are you guys doing?" Like, actually went to his house because he's sort of a bit of green.
Yeah.
Went there and tried to get a little tiny bit, you know, whatever it was. And he goes, "What are you doing? Like, aren't you staying at Muron's house?" I'm like, "We were."
He was a rider.
He's a good
Yep,
rider
yep.
that been shit on in the past by
Okay.
so-called
The
pros.
crew.
Yeah, what I just went through basically.
The clique.
He's had something similar happen, and he just fucking was like, "Man, that's fucked. Like, you guys, there's a couch there. There's a couch there. Go for it." And he put us up. I was like, "Thanks, man. Like, I don't want to sleep in the fucking street." You know, like, I'm on the other side of the world, supposed to be getting looked after, and here I am, fucking homeless.
Didn't pan out.
Yeah, and then like so we just end up staying with him for a bit, and then some other guy took us in for a bit, and then I ended up working a part-time job, and then I ended up renting somewhere, and Mick was staying with me. Then Mick finally got a part-time job, and he started renting with another guy, and we both started getting on our feet, you know. And I was like, "This is fucked. Like, what am I doing here? Why am I even on this fucking
Are
team?"
you still enjoying riding your bikes while you're getting a job, or you're not in
not
that
in that
mindset?
little- not in that little period,
You're stressed
no.
about just
surviving, fucking
Yeah.
surviving. I had no money, like, and I couldn't call my parents and ask for money. It doesn't work like that.
Did you resolve the stuff with Jay, or did
No.
that get resolved?
No, he just ignored
this
it.
day?
He acted. Oh no, definitely nothing ever happened. Like
Yeah.
I nearly did something about it with my fists more than anything.
That's terrible. Well, Jay, if you're listening, maybe we could
watching the
resolve
podcast,
it.
Jay.
You know, I don't know.
No, like ended up. Well, I got my own back a little bit. I was still riding for the company, but I was on like thin ice, I guess you could say. And I was like, you know what, fuck this.
Skate the hell out of that thin ice.
I took myself into the warehouse and I said, hey, can I get a bike at least? Like, my bike's fucked. Can I get a new bike?
Yeah. I travelled all the way from fucking
can I at least have a new?
kilometres
Can I
away.
at least have a new bike? And they're like, yeah, of course, because the guys in the warehouse weren't like necessarily.
Yeah.
Shay was around, but they were.
Yeah. We'd do as we told.
They were awesome. They were all cool. And they give me this brand new prototype Ali Whitten frame, decked out with all these parts. Beautiful bike. This is on a Friday. I sold the bike on Saturday. And then Sunday, the guy that was riding the bike I just sold for 1,000 cash is ran into Jay. And Jay's like, what are you doing? This is Kim's bike. What are you fucking doing? Right. He's like, no, I just bought it. I swear I just bought it. And then Jay nearly took the bike off of him, but the guy's like, no, I swear to God, here's my details. I bought this thing. It's mine. And then, so Monday comes around. I went back to the warehouse and Jay was in there and I walked in there and he goes, what did you sell the bike for? And I said, I got to do what I got to do to survive. You do what you fucking got to do. I got to do what I got to do. And he's just like looking at me pissed, didn't know what to say. And I said, anyway, I'm here to quit the team. I'm done. Thanks for everything. Like, appreciate it. But and he's like, I just don't understand why you sold the bike. I said, I need fucking money to survive. I'm broke.
On the other side of the
broke,
world.
I'm poor and I'm hungry. Yeah, like, fuck you. And he's just like, I stuck my hand out and he shook my hand and he goes, oh, I guess you're going back to Australia now. I said, fuck no. I've got a 2-year working visa. I'm not going anywhere. I've only been here for a month or two. I'm fucking staying. Yeah. You'll see me around. And he's just like, oh, okay. And then I just walked out. And then I ran into him like once more after that on the beach. And I don't know, we heckled him a little bit and he got up and left. And then that was the last time I saw him.
It's sad that it didn't work better than that.
No, it could have been great. Could have been great. But I was like,
he had a shit situation and you had a situation.
Yeah, but didn't explain it to me. Didn't explain it to me. He just took it out and then I copped the wrath of it. And then what am I supposed to think? You know, like I'm fucking on the other side of the world.
You're a lot more desperate than
and I'm willing to do what it takes. Like I don't know about you, but I'm willing to do what it takes. Anyways,
exactly.
It is what it is. Moved on. But then I think he tried to blackball me in BMX industry a little bit after that. Like he tried to get Vans to stop sponsoring me. He tried to get the bike shop I was working at to sack me. He did whatever it could, and none of it.
The haters are always going to hate.
None of it worked. I got through it, and
good man.
I ended up staying there.
Off a duck's back.
Yeah, I ended up staying there for 2 years, having a great time. After that, I met a guy named John Thompson that does a series of videos called Blazeguard, and he started filming us. So we ended up doing a full-length DVD with him. An awesome web edit with me and Mick are on the web edit together called Aussie Invasion, and we just destroyed Vancouver in like 3 months, and he filmed it all, and like ended up putting out 2 of my best parts I've ever done. Like after this, like
is that stuff still accessible on the internet now?
Yeah, right now you just Google Kim Grosser Blazeguard or Mick Kim Grosser Mick Blazeguard.
I'm useless at hashtags and things, but I'll try and put some in and fucking people watch this guy. This guy's pretty good on a BMX bike.
Still
kids,
watch
I'm
it.
telling you.
Yeah, you can still watch it. And
I'm sure you'd be all right today once your kids have grown up a little bit. You'll get back to it.
Yep. So I don't have any hard feelings about it, but it was a time in my life where I was just like, fuck, what's going on?
Made a mark on you.
What's going on?
Made an impression. Yeah.
Yeah.
What's a better one than that? What's a really...
Well, everything else was better than that. Everything else.
Yeah,
like,
but
everything else was
so
good.
what's a real good international experience that go... Maybe not the comp or the event, but...
I don't know. For me, it was stuff like going to Woodward. Like going to Woodward camp was like growing up watching videos with Woodward camp in it. It was like, wow, look, imagine going there. You know, coming from Adelaide.
And then, you saw it on a video. It's like, fuck, there's a setup and there's 4 steps. There's an indoor bit, there's an outdoor bit, there's a ramp, there's wood, there's dirt.
There's 8 skate parks in the same place. There's 8 different parks.
This is the time when Adelaide had 6 sets of dirt jumps and 1 skate park.
And that's it, and maybe a half pipe. So it was just like a full-on dream to go there. And going there, I got taken there with Ryan Nyquist, and we stayed in Bud's Barn, which is like the pro barn there, where you got your own private room and everything. And the camp's not even on, so there's no one there. It's just us with all the parks. Like, go nuts, you know. Turn the lights on, ride that all night if you want. It was like fucking the best. Some of the best time, just doing shit like that.
Hours and
highlights for me, because it was like, coming from Adelaide, coming from Elizabeth, of all places, you know, just no reason to do well. And then all of a sudden I'm fucking hanging out with Jamie Bestwick and Dave Mirror. Like, fucking, this is all right. This has worked out all right. You know, shit like that.
Followed your little dream there, Kim.
I fucking got there, and I was determined, and I knew I was going to get there, whether, I don't know how long it takes or whatever, but...
So when there's a lot of gaps in between...
Yeah.
Maybe let's jump a little bit to the
25
end.
years worth of shit in there. So, like...
When and why did that fade a little bit for you? Did you get old? Like, what happened in your world to make that fade a little bit more? What are some of the reasons?
It didn't fade for me until I decided it was over.
Yep.
So for me, it was
all or nothing then.
Yeah, I went as hard for the long as I could, and only because I wanted to. Like, I got to my last video part was Cooper Brownlee's video, Alive and Well. Filmed it all in 2017. It came out in 2018. I did a full part, and I said to him in that section, like during that filming, I said, "This is my last full part," and he's like, "No, it's not." I'm like, "Yeah, it is. Like, I'm trying to buy a house. Me and the missus want to have kids. This is it. I'm going.
You break yourself a BMX, you got a lot more consequences.
Yeah, I've had a good run. I'm going to leave on a high. I don't want to deteriorate. I don't want to get shit on a bike and have people watch that and go, "Well, I used to be so good." Like, you know what I mean? Like, I just didn't want to. I just wanted to leave on a high in a way, I guess, and like just fade back and just be a bit more of an enigma, I guess you could say.
7 years ago, you're talking now.
Yeah. But I properly stopped in 2020. So right before COVID. COVID was just the reason to go, nah, no
COVID
more.
in Melbourne.
Yeah, Melbourne was fucked. The whole year it was fucked. So, yeah, just... For me, it was like I knew I was going to buy a house. I knew I was about to settle down.
Because what? You found a missus? You found yourself? You finally settled down?
Yep, found the love of my life.
Yeah,
perfect girl for me, right? And like I knew as soon as I met her that like it was going to go down this path. Like I knew, but she loved to travel. She knew what I was doing. She totally like supported me in every way. So she let me keep doing it for as long as I wanted, and I did it. I did it for as long as I wanted to do it. And it just got to the point where it was like, all right, I'm ready to do this next step, which is fucking settle down and do it properly, not do it poor, have a house, have money, have a good job, like have everything I didn't have growing up. You know, I'm not doing it poor. I'm not doing what I've been through. Like, it wasn't fun. Like, it wasn't easy. So do it right. So we both had a plan. We saved for a few years, saved, got the deposit, bought the house, got married, did honeymoon, did all that stuff, you know, and then sure enough had a kid, had a beautiful little girl, and then just had a boy. He's 5 months old today. So
5 months.
5 months.
How old are your children?
4 and 5 months. So my daughter's 4. She just turned 4 a few weeks ago, and my son just hit 5 months today. So.
I remember those days.
Yeah, and I left it late. Like, I'm 44. I'm not young. Like, I should have done it 10 years ago. But I was having a good time. I was living a good life, and I milked it as long as I could. And I was like, all right, I need to get serious. So 40 years old, had a daughter. Like, you know, my missus is a few years younger, so that helped. She's a bit younger.
Well, I know people in their 50s having kids.
Oh,
so
yeah, totally. I just didn't want to...
It's weird. Everyone gets later and longer.
Yeah, everybody I know did it younger, so I'm like...
sounds like you're in a great spot to do a good job of it.
Exactly. I'm doing it right. Like, I got friends that are becoming grandpas while I'm becoming a father. Like, you know what I mean? So that's the real side of it. But no, I'm happy I did it this way. I got to live an awesome life, no regrets, not bitter. And I'm ready to do the dad thing, and I want to do the dad thing without feeling like I'm missing out, you know. And
so, what's a bit of your day to day now? Like, what's your day job?
I'm a concreter. I used to do concreting back in the early 2000s, and I ended up going after COVID. Before COVID, I was working part time in a bar, and I was doing part time appliance technician. So I've done lots of jobs, lots of odd jobs, lots of random stuff over the years, just whatever it took to get the money to pay the bills. But concreting, I kind of enjoyed it, to be honest. Surprisingly, I actually liked it. I liked working with a crew of guys. It's physical, but it's not always physical. You know, you get good days, you get bad days. But I don't know. I like slugging it out with a bunch of like-minded people.
I know a little bit about concrete, so it's a type to have a good crew that rocks up every morning with a good attitude. It
makes
a tight
difference.
Crew.
Yep, got a couple of blokes I love working with that keep it funny, and I got one fella that doesn't work much. He's getting older and he's sore, but I just like having him around, you know. So like I'll do the hard work if you just hang out with me, you know, whatever it takes. But yeah, I like it. So I went back to that when COVID hit, and I've been doing that ever since, and it's going well. It's going good. Started running a few little jobs on my own and moved up a little bit, and they're looking after me. So I'm gonna keep going while my body lets me, and down the track, either do my own thing with concreting or find something else. I don't know. I've never been scared to chop and change and mix it up, do something different. Just see what happens.
But the BMX bike is in the distance until your kids
It's
showing interest.
My bike is still there, and it's got a baby seat attached to it. And I ride around the block and across to the parklands with my daughter on the baby seat. That's about all I do these days. I went to a skate park a few months ago and had a little play, and I was so rusty. But like half an hour into it, I was doing a lot of shit that I used to do. And I'm like, all right, so it's still there. It's just rusty. And then the same thing, I went and met up with a few guys that I used to ride with all the time, and they were filming some spots. I jumped on Cooper's bike, and within half an hour, I'm doing feeble hard ways again. And like, I'm like, all right, so it's all still there. It's muscle memory. It's there. Yeah. I'm just rusty. I'm just, I got tired after half an hour. Next day, I felt it. I was like, well, I did a few bunny hops yesterday. Whereas it used to be nothing for me, you know? Yeah. So, no, it's definitely, no regrets. I don't have the time at the moment. I'm working mostly 6 days a week to make things a little bit easier at home. So
everything a good dad would do.
Yeah, it's not for me anymore. It's for two little ones looking after me. So give them the best life possible. Hopefully get the dream house, working on getting the dream house next. And
you might need a pool.
Well, I know a guy. I might, but Melbourne,
not in Melbourne,
you don't really need a pool.
Move back to Adelaide, kid.
I'd love to. If my missus wasn't so family orientated, I definitely would have. I would have done it by now, and we probably would do it together. But she's very family orientated, and they're all there. So, and I'm a bit more of a what's the word, wanderer.
You're settled in there. Yeah. Well,
yeah, like I can live anywhere. I visit my dad as much as I can. Still in Elizabeth there doing his thing. He's happy to chill. He doesn't want to go anywhere. So I just try to keep in touch with him and visit him when I can. And we'll come to you basically because we're based over there. So,
Well, I actually need a wee break.
Yeah.
We might take a wee break. And when we come back, let's talk a little bit more about your dad because you seem like a pretty good kid. Your dad's probably done a pretty good job if you look back at it now.
Yeah.
So let's take a quick break.
Yep.
And we come back, we're going to spend a minute on your dad.
Yeah, for sure. Sounds good.
Back, we had a little wee break, and we're about to engage on how this fantastic young man is able to be so fantastic, and it's probably got a little bit to do with his dad. Tell me a little bit more about your dad.
My dad was pretty much my hero growing up, for sure. He was a real cool guy, real awesome dad, pretty young, so he was into motorbikes, he played guitar, he loved getting tattoos and all that sort of stuff, which most dads weren't into back then, I guess. So I always thought he was really cool, like just idolised him. Didn't want to cause any trouble for him. And he's definitely a big role model, just a provider. He's my rock growing up. So when shit hit the fan, Dad was always there. And, when shit fell apart in the family, like I stuck with Dad, and for a good reason, and worked out well.
And he is still. You're lucky to still have him with us today. You live in Melbourne now.
Yep.
You've come back to Adelaide for a bit of a catch up. And
I come back every year at least because I get one set of holidays every year where it's long enough to get back here and spend some time. So I do that every year, and that's pretty much all I get to see him these days. It sucks that Melbourne and Adelaide are so far apart because I'd be here more often if it wasn't for that. But
what's something that you would really find important to copy that your dad taught you?
I don't know. It's hard to say. He's just solid. Like you can rely on him. He's just real, protector. Like I come from a time when it was like, I don't know, in Adelaide. There was a lot of kids getting fiddled with and all sorts of shit happening. And
you're on the tougher side of town as well.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So Dad was...
He stood up against all that.
Yeah, he was my backup. That's all I had, Shit hit the fan at school and trouble at school or whatever. People trying to fight everyone. And like I left high school. Half the reason I left high school was because this one guy wanted to fucking beat me up over some shit I didn't do, and him and his whole gang were just basically chasing me around for months on end, and I got sick of it. And there was a time when we were at the shopping centre and there was like 50 of them in the shopping centre trying to get me, and I was with my dad, and my dad was like, who the fuck, who's trying to get you? And I said, turn around and have a look,
All of them, and he goes, I got them.
He turned around and saw them all, and he goes, what, all of them? And I said, well, not all of them. This is like one main guy. And he goes, which one's the main guy? And I said, the guy in the grey shirt. And my dad's is colourblind. So my dad goes, I fucking can't see what grey is. Point him out for me. And I just pointed at this kid, and my dad got down, looked along my arm and saw who I was pointing at, and took 2 steps, and they all ran. So my dad was pretty much all I had, to save me from being bashed for no reason, I guess.
That's a cool memory.
Yeah, it was
that's
pretty
a cool
cool
picture in your head.
Yeah, and he's like, fuck this, let's go. Fucking bullshit, fucking kids. Fucking
and he's colourblind, then you point out a grey shirt.
Yeah. The kid in the grey, I
cool.
just wasn't thinking, But yeah, he was a solid dude. He could handle himself and just got good morals. He was brought up well from his parents, So I just knew we weren't some of like some of the people around us. We weren't the same. We weren't sketchy.
I'm born in Adelaide, and there's suburban phobias. Who's the good suburb? Who's the bad suburb? The rest of it. And I got probably there's a fond feeling for. There's a lot of you guys that you're born in this suburb, that suburb. It didn't matter. You're good kids and good people.
Yeah, diamond in the rough.
And in spite of a much more difficult environment that a lot of spoiled kids get.
Yeah, my parents were young when they got together and had kids, so they didn't have any money, and the only option, they lived just Angle Park, just out of the city, grew up there, and then the only place they could go and sort of have a life was Elizabeth or somewhere like that where it was affordable for young people, so that's what they did. So we ended up out there, and I just grew up in it and not realising how bad it was until I was out of it. So,
good, bad. It's hard to say. It seems like you did pretty well in spite of, and maybe as a result of it.
Yeah, well, as a result, you grow up very street smart. You know who to trust, who not to trust. Your word and your balls is all you have, sort of thing. So, yeah, it's not a bad thing. But yeah, I definitely was happy to leave and start travelling and riding my bike and getting away from it.
Getting away from that. That was a bit of an escape.
Exactly. My missus loves it. She we meet people in Melbourne that are from Adelaide, and they're like, oh, my husband's from Adelaide. Like, oh, whereabouts? And she says Elizabeth, and they always just go quiet. Oh shit. I'm like, man, we're not all that bad. Come on.
We're going to stay friends.
Yeah.
Speaking of friends, there's one bloke we chatted off as we were doing a quick wee. Yeah. Michael Bazand.
Yeah, my little partner in crime.
He's a strong buddy of yours, hey?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we go well back to the early days.
You kids, had some mad skills. There was you, Mick, Russell, Dwayne.
Mm-hmm.
And you all had your own little style.
Yeah.
But what was your relationship? Mick was probably your tightest buddy.
I think he became Russell was my school friend that I knew the best, I guess, as you could say. But Russell he's a networker. He likes to know everybody, and he travels around. He knew everybody from everywhere in Adelaide. Russell's a real networker, and Russell loves BMX, but he wasn't in it like I was with Mick. It's the same sort of mindset where we really wanted to go as far as we could with it. Russell was just happy to do a backflip in front of a crowd. Yeah. And get a phone number from a girl in the audience, That's what Russell was like. But Russell was also...
Shout out Russell.
Shout out Russell. Russell's a good guy. Yeah. I still see Russell regularly. He still comes down from Darwin and catches up, and got nothing good things to say about Russ, but he was definitely the larrikin of the group. And Russell provided some of the best memories because of his outgoingness and whatnot. So, shout out to Russell. But yeah, as far as the riding goes, me and Mick sort of teamed up, I guess you could say, because he was younger. He was still in school when I got my license, and I was working full time. So, and he wanted to do what I wanted to do, whereas everyone kind of split up a little bit as we got older. Before I moved away, obviously, and then Mick was just keen to do it, and I was working at Holden's. I was making $1,000 a week cash, like in my pocket.
Good money.
Good money in 1999. 1998. Yeah, really good money. Like I was paying rent to my dad to help him survive. But that was it. I had no other expenses, so my car was always full of petrol, and I had money in my pocket. And Mick was just this kid still in school, and his parents sort of trusted me a bit, I guess, to take him. So I'd pick him up after school some days with his bike in the back seat with my bike, and he'd have a change of clothes in his bag. I'd pick him up from school, and we go riding straight after school, like till dark. I'd take him home and go buy charcoal chicken for dinner, and I'd buy him dinner. And he'd always be like, I'm sorry, I've got no money. I'm like, dude, you're fucking 15. You're not supposed to have money. Like, I'm 18. I was 3 years older than him, so.
Is that the age difference?
Yeah,
all right.
yeah.
See,
So
I saw all your boys as pretty similar. Like,
Dwayne and Terry and that were 2 years older than us, and then me and Russell were the same, and then Mick was the young one. So, and because he was just this little protege BMX kid that was just really good. He didn't have the size to him yet, but he had the skills for his size. So he had a lot of potential, but he was just still small. Whereas I was sort of hitting puberty
pretty
first.
big balls as well.
Yeah, well, he was 14 doing backflip, no hands, no footers.
Yes, he was just trying mad stuff. I don't know if he landed many of them for the first few years, but he kept trying.
He got there eventually, and like it obviously helped him to ride with older guys and the guys that were progressing ahead of him. It pushed him faster than any other kid his age.
Yeah.
So he stayed there right with me, and then when we got into street, he went nuts with the street riding. Like at the time, grinding on a BMX bike, we used to have big sprockets, big freewheels, right? So grinding on the right, you'd be bashing your chain and it'd be all over the place. But
the opposite.
He's on his left side grinding, so he had nothing in the way, and he was just loving it. Like, this works perfect for me, Like, he could do duster grinds and it wouldn't be an issue, whereas I couldn't do it. Like, not until left-hand drive came out.
But was he right foot forward, left foot forward?
Was
he opposite?
Well, he's left foot forward, but the first rail he ever did, he did on the same side as me because he didn't know any better. He's like, oh, you guys all grind on the right, I'll grind on the right. And he did this goofy footer grind, and then I'm like, I was the one that picked it up. I'm like, hang on a minute, like we're all
doing it on the wrong side.
We're all right foot forward. You're left foot forward. Maybe you should grind on the other side. So he chucked his pegs on the other side and started grinding on that side, and then it just took off.
Yeah.
And, he went on a rampage, did a whole bunch of crazy rails in Adelaide that to this day, there's probably kids going out riding and like, who's done this rail? Mick's done it, Maybe Kim's done it, but probably Mick,
Yeah.
So, he was just a beast on street, and that's where he was like, I had to say he was better than me when it came to, because he was younger. I was always slightly in front of him. I was a bit more mature. I had muscle more, I guess. So he was always sort of tagging behind me. But when it came to street, he sort of progressed on his own, and he got me psyched to do stuff I normally wouldn't do because I was more of a technical guy, right? Like, I like the challenge of it, but not the balls of it as much. Whereas he was like, okay, I'm doing this crazy ass rail with his death drop on the one side.
It didn't have to be as big for you, but it was more technical.
Yeah. It was more of a challenge. I could do the big stuff, but I was like, there was nothing pushing me to do it until he was doing it. And I'm like, oh, fuck, all right, if you can do it, I'm doing it too. So we sort of pushed each other in those ways. And like, I did some of my biggest rails because of him. Like, but then there'd be times where he was about to do a huge rail that I wouldn't do, and I'd talk him into doing it. Like, you got this, just do this, just do that, right, and he would do it, and I'm like, fucking hell, this kid's crazy.
I didn't think you were going to.
I was like, props to you, man. I don't know if I would have listened to me, but you did, and you got it done.
Oh, maybe when he gets to Adelaide, maybe we can get young Michael Bazan in here for a chat as well.
It's possible.
Put a good word in for me.
Yeah, I will.
If you're listening, Mick, next time you're in Adelaide, hit me up.
Yeah, you should do it.
Yeah.
A lot of history.
Let's go back to a little bit more of your lifestyle of you're a BMXer, you're a guy in your 20s and into your 30s where essentially you get to travel somewhere. How does, let's pick a year, 2015, you get a phone call, oh, Kim, come and do this. What does that phone call end like? 2015, pick a year-ish, somewhere around 2015, somewhere around 10 years ago.
I don't know, most of the time it was like, hell yeah, let's go, let's do it. I was down to do whatever.
Who calls you and what are they calling you for?
Depends what it's about. I mean, like there was times when a guy named Dinny Spicer in Melbourne he hooked up some sort of demo in China and he would go there and do demos, and then he needed more guys to do it. And he looked at me and Mick's like, you guys killing it, do you want to come? And we're like, sure, why not? So he arranged it and we just went along with him basically, and then we got to do that for a few years.
And what's a demo? What is that? How long? What are you doing?
Usually it's at some sort of event. So the China ones were at their version of Disneyland. So you go there and you do 3 shows a day at this time, and that time. And
so it's like Movie World.
Yeah, basically, yeah.
And
they basically built a little skate park, like a small version of a proper skate park, like 2 ends, stuff in the middle, and you get like a 15, 20-minute show. The crowds all watching, and then they
10 a.m., 2 p.m. and 5 p.m. or something.
Exactly. Yeah. And we just do that and just make a few grand and then come home, stuff like that. My hardest part about doing stuff like that was eating. So I got a very limited diet, like very limited diet. So I struggled every time we went overseas. I spent a month in Thailand and I lost like 10 kilos. I came back real skinny, like stuff like that. And then China, I would struggle. I'd find one restaurant that sold chicken and chips or something, like fried chicken and French fries. No, can't do all that. So I just eat at the same restaurant every day, stuff like that. So my biggest thing with traveling was eating.
Yeah, okay.
So when I got to go to places like New Zealand or Canada or America,
familiar.
Oh, beautiful. You know, even France. I go to France and I was eating like a steak on a plate. You know, like just a steak. Like they wouldn't do meals. They'd be like, I go to porterhouse and it'd just be a steak. And I was like, all right, that'll do. I'll just eat a steak and go again. Like living off baguettes and weird shit, but. Yeah, a Coke and a cigarette was pretty much what I survived on a lot of times when I travelled. To the point where it was well known amongst the BMX.
Okay,
like, even if I had a picture
Healthy
in
Kim.
I'd have a picture in the magazine. My missus laughs at it when I show her old magazines, and it'll be a write up in the bottom saying Kim travelled the whole country off cigarettes and cans of Coke, you know, or a Vegemite or Wheat Bix, something like that. Like
I like cans of Coke.
Oh, man.
Yes.
Yeah, my diet's not great. I'm sort of trying to do better these days as we get a bit older, but yeah. Yeah.
And so, was there a time in all these experiences where some shit you spoke about, Jay, but something went wrong, like it went wrong badly? Can you remember an experience where, fuck, I'm just, you talked about the J. That sounds pretty traumatic.
That's probably the worst. That'd be the worst. And that's just like someone pissing in your pocket to the point where you believe them and then it doesn't turn out that way.
What about at a comp or a comp or a demo, and you want to perform at your best, and for some reason it didn't work? Like, how do you? Or it always worked.
For me, it mostly worked. I was a very calculated rider throughout my years, whereas I wouldn't go for something in a demo, for instance, that I couldn't do. Like I did shows in Thailand for a month over the whole Thailand with a bunch of guys, and I was the only one that did every single show. Every single show, never missed a beat, you know. But other guys they'd get injured and they wouldn't do a show or two and stuff like that. Whereas
you wouldn't do the extra trick. You'd be happy.
I was consistent.
Truck driver.
I was consistent.
I don't need to do a double truck driver.
I'd do a double truck, but I was good at it. The crowd
wouldn't know it.
Yeah, the stuff I was doing at the time was pretty good, and I was really good at it. So it wasn't risking it. It was just doing what I normally do. And like a triple truck driver wasn't that hard for me, you know, like. I didn't do like flip tail whips or anything like pretty wild. So the stuff I was doing, I'd usually just put a foot down, or if worst come to worst, I'd throw the bike and run out of it. I grew up riding Brakeless, so I was good at crashing. I knew when something wasn't working, I'd get out of it, save myself, let the bike take the damage, whatever, you know. So,
how many people are in these demos when you're doing an event in China? With
China, there was only 4 of us.
Yep.
There was 4 of us in China. In Thailand, we had 10 of us, and then we had 6 motocross guys. So the motocross guys would do jumps over the trucks from one truck to another truck with a landing on it.
This is before the Nitro Circus is starting to do all their circus tricks and everything. That's organised.
Before backflips on motorbikes, basically, right before it. So we thought it was consistent anyway. So they still had room for BMX guys to do their thing, you know. So and same with comps. Like I'd maybe push it, but like I said, I was good at crashing, and if I wasn't crashing, I was super consistent because I spent years dialing it in and wanting it, not just doing it because I thought I had to. Like I wanted it. So when you really
used to pad up, did you used to pad yourself?
I did for a lot of years. I did, and then as I got older, I'd stop wearing anything. Yeah, even street riding.
There's less likely to crash.
Well, I just felt like I was more free without it, and I was more. I guess it was more like you had to do it. You couldn't mess around. You couldn't be lazy about it. You couldn't be slack.
So you're all in. So you're probably not going to crash.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I decided early on in my career, like in a sense that I was all in. Like I learnt the hard way a few times, and like I used to tell a couple of young guys like who I rode with, I'm like, you can go to a rail, right, and half-ass it, and crash.
Guaranteed.
Or you can go at it with everything you got and you'll probably pull it or you'll get close to pulling it.
And you'll still crash.
So what's the two? Yeah. Which two would you rather do? Would you rather you could hop and freeze but still land the rail? So if you're going to do it, you're better off giving it your all. Like you're better off. And I took that mindset and ran with it. I pushed it on Mick. Like, man, if you're gonna do this, fucking do it.
You can't half jump a big jump.
No, why? If you're gonna,
You've got to go.
If you're really scared, don't do it. If you're
or-
really scared, don't do it because you're gonna hurt yourself. So like, so in that case, if you're gonna do it, even if it's gnarly, you're better off going for it with everything you got. 100% focus, 100% attention, 100% go for it. Because otherwise, what are you doing here? Get out of here. So you had to like learn to block out what ifs, you know, fear, all that sort of stuff. The nerves when your butterflies are going through your stomach and you're about to do something crazy. You had to block it all out and be like, I want this. I've got this. Fucking watch this. Watch me. Like, you know, take that attitude. So that got me through a lot. Like, I'm lucky in the sense that apart from my knee, no real bad injuries. Just broken a few bones here and there. Lots of sprains, lots of cuts, you know.
Is that something, the night, like you've got an event on Saturday. On Friday night, how do you go to bed? Like you're thinking, oh, I've got my run planned out. I know what I want to do.
Yeah.
Can you put your head back into the night before?
No, not me. I was never like that because that's to me that's a guy that's like really, really professional. Where I didn't come at it like a real professional. I wasn't a highly tuned athlete. I smoked and I drank and I did what I wanted to do.
You just rocked up on the day. And what happens.
And I learned to like you can't plan stuff because it might not work out like that when you get there anyway. So you're better off just relaxing and just cruising, and then whatever happens happens. So,
but you come to you're an event in England. You've got the setup. You've got what your ramps and your box jump. You know what the transitions are.
Yeah.
And how you could maybe loop a good run together.
Yep.
Do you plan your run and what you want to do?
You only plan it once you've done practice. Once you've done a practice session there with a bunch of the guys or whatever, then you can start piecing something together. But you wouldn't do it theoretically without practice, without riding it, because there's no point. Because no matter what,
this doesn't work. A hip to the left.
Like,
I want a hip to the right.
This looks like it might work, but then you go out there like, I can't get the speed if I do that, or if
transition's
I can't.
a bit kooky.
So yeah, I would usually plan out like after I've ridden the course, whatever. I'd plan out a sort of like a 70% of the run. And then the last 30% would be huck time. Like, so I know I can do this, and this, and that's going to get me points. And once I've done that and that all works out well, I'll hit that and try this. Like that's
so
sort
you
of
did
how.
Have a goal,
but only
I want to do these 5 tricks. If I can do these 5, the other 5 are a bonus.
Yeah, well, like perfect.
And if I make it to the end,
perfect example for me was my first simple sessions contest, which was all in one contest. They didn't segregate it to be street over here and park here. It was just a park course with rails on it. And guys that rode the course were either doing the rails or they were doing the jumps and the big quarters. Like no one was doing everything.
Bit of everything.
Right? And because I'm from a generation where we learned to ride everything. We did dirt, we did street, we did whatever. I had tricks on everything. So I knew if I could just put a few things on everything, I'd do it right.
And throw a rail in.
Right? I'd do it right. And not just hit the rail, but do a good rail trick. And then I do a good box jump trick, and they're like, "Holy shit!" Like he's doing good shit on both, and yeah. So I did that in simple sessions, and I made the finals, and then I'm with like Garrett Reynolds and Dennis Anderson and like dudes like that, Chase Hawk or whatever it was. I forget who the riders were, but there was like 12 of us in the comp, and I was in the second to last group, and there was 4 riders per group. So when I went in my group, I was sitting in first position or something like that. No, I was sitting in third position in the finals with 4 riders to go, and those last 4 riders was Garrett Reynolds, Harry Main, or whoever they were, just like the world's best, yeah. And I'm not the world's best. I'm a good all rounder, and I'm sitting in third, and I'm like, I'm about to get 7th place.
Worst case scenario,
I'm about to get 7th in this comp, and I shouldn't even be in this comp, right? Like, and I was just like, "Fuck, this is crazy." And then, sure enough, all those 4 guys went crazy, and they got 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah. My 4th place got pushed down or whatever to 7th or something, like however it worked.
You did your best run though.
I did pretty good. I did.
You nailed a run.
I did good stuff on everything. You know, like I did stuff on the box jump that no one else did. I did stuff on the rail that no one else did. I did like a nothing bunny hop drop in off of this step down that no one else is doing. So the stuff I did for
whether the judges liked it or not was irrelevant.
Yeah,
you nailed.
Well, the thing
run.
was the judges, like I was different. I stood out because it was different. It wasn't the same copy paste
technique
of
or
everybody else is doing.
Whatever.
Yeah, I'm
so how do you judge
a little bit of flavour on everything, and then they were like, this is good, and they gave me a good score. You know, so like things like that worked out for me well. Where like my all round skills came in real handy for stuff like that.
Yeah.
Whereas other guys were just like, all right, Garrett's the best. I'm going to do what he does, and they try to emulate him.
I've got to try and do his thing with a bit better.
Well, I was like, I'm not going to be able to do what he does.
Put an X up at the end of that.
I'll just stand out a little bit differently, you know? So that's where my originality
And then
paid
the judging,
off.
like you say, the judging, they don't, how do you scale? That is something completely different. You just jump the whole thing versus a trick or whatever.
Yeah.
And no one's done that.
No, and originality is rare now, so like it paid off for me a lot compared to other contests.
So how does it feel? It sounds like you're all or nothing. So it sounds like your focus is now family and life.
Yeah.
But do you get itchy at night thinking?
I still look at spots.
Instagram feeds come on and you see
still
this
watch
thing.
videos. I still look at spots and go, oh, that'd be cool, you know. But like, it's definitely the drive for actually doing it has dropped right off big time. I'm just not young anymore, so I don't nothing to prove anymore, which is good. Like I don't feel like I have to prove anything. I just, I went to a trail jam a few weeks ago in Melbourne, and I didn't even take my bike. I rode there on the motorbike, and just hung out. And everyone's like, "Where's your bike? Where's your bike?" I'm like, what am I going to do? I got to work. Like, whereas all through my riding days, I didn't care about work. Work was second. So riding was first. So if something happens, I won't go to work. It's no big deal.
Didn't matter.
But now it's a bit different. It's a bit more important. I've got to go to work. Yeah.
Responsibility.
Yeah, I need to go to work. Got to keep the money coming in and the bills paid. So it's a bit different now. And plus, I'm older. I did 25 years solid. Solid. And that was
any career, any athlete to go, I fucking milked that. That's
and it was like 20 years of that 25. I was kind of at my peak,
And you travelled the world, and people,
a few times over.
People covered you, and you got all these experiences you can share with your family.
Endless stories. Yeah, filmed a lot of video parts, went on a lot of trips, met a lot of awesome riders. Know a lot of good riders. Well, still keep in touch with them and whatnot. So nothing. I got a lot of respect. So I'm happy.
We've barely touched the surface on half of the conversations. I'd like to squeeze a few more in while I've got you here.
Yeah, for sure. Well, one of my best memories about Adelaide in the last few years was I was filming for I ended up riding for a company called the Set BMX, which is strictly started the bike company, and I ended up getting a signature frame and signature handlebars, which is another goal of mine. Being young was like, if I ever get that, I've made it. I'm happy, I'm done. And I got that, which was awesome. And then filming a part for it to showcase the new frame, I wanted to do something like big. And I was thinking about it. I was in Melbourne. I'm like, I would love to do the Festival Hall rail in Adelaide. So
the kink rail.
The kink rail.
Yeah.
That you filmed Dwayne
try. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Shh.
Yeah.
Stop.
So me and two of the young fellas I was riding with at the time, because as I got older, all the riders were younger that I was hanging out with to keep going. We did a little road trip back over here, and I came just to do that rail. So the two young guys wanted to ride Adelaide, of course, and I said, yeah. I'll do all that. I'll show you anything you want, whatever it is, and then I just want to do that rail. So went there and I tried the rail, and it took me like 30 something goes, and like the second or third go, I got like all the way down the rail, but then fell over the rail and jumped and landed on the bottom stair or the ground, and I'm pretty sure I broke my ankle, like a fracture or something, like bad sprain maybe, I don't know. But the adrenaline was kicking, so I said, let's keep going. And I kept going. I ended counting up the tries on camera, and it was like 37 tries. So like 30 something tries later, the pain's starting to kick in, right? And I was like, this needs to happen the next few goes because I can't walk. And then sure enough, boom, all the way down it. And I did that, like little part of me was like, I contacted Mick and I said, you're the last one to do the rail and you didn't quite get the whole rail. Are you going to do it? Are you going to go back and do it? Because if you're not, I want to do it before someone else does it, right? Like, it's an iconic
legacy.
Rail. It's an iconic rail. It's from Adelaide, hometown. Like, one of us needs to do it. Dwayne tried it. You nearly did it, but no one's actually pulled it. And like, it was like probably like I said something about like we don't want one of these young guys to come in and do it
because it's fast and that's a long flat
it's square.
And then it's fast again.
It's really fat. It's a fat square rail, which made it hard because it's hard to stay on. Believe it or not, because you think it'd be easy because it's so fat, but it's actually hard because you need room to be able to rock over, and you can't. You lean a little bit too much and you're off, and like lean a little bit in and you're off, and it was real hard to stay on. So it was just a prick of a rail, but I did that just to get that done and have that in like our legacy basically, and before someone new gets it.
Has anyone done it since?
No, it's not there anymore. They bulldozed it. Yeah, it's gone.
Because they're redeveloping all that side of it.
So the whole staircase is gone, and it wasn't long after I did it, they tore it down. And I was like, that was meant to be, you know. So that's like in the end of one of my video parts.
And to all you regular humans that don't understand, I don't know how many steps. Like this is.
It was 31.
It was 11
it's got to
be
and 20.
5-6 meters tall from the top to the bottom. It's a long, steep angle at 45 degrees to a long 3 meters of flat.
Yeah, well, the first set was 11 stairs, and then it went flat for quite a while, more than most rails, and then down another 20.
Big flat section.
So the 20 stair alone at the bottom was big, and then you add this on top.
To moderate your speed and to feel, I've got no idea.
It was crazy that Dwayne even tried it back in the day, like crazy. Like, mental.
That was Dwayne.
Mental.
Yeah,
and then Mick tried it a few times, and we got booted.
You go, no one's even going to try it. Oh, don't be stupid.
Even Mick would have probably got it if the cops didn't kick us out.
Yeah.
But we never went back because he hurt himself as well, and then we just never got around to going back. And I said, you know what, if you're not doing it, one of us needs to do it. So he was like, yep, go for it. I'm not doing it. And I was like, sweet, I'm doing it. Get it done while I still can.
Because that's a high risk. That's the consequences.
Yeah.
Like, I'm probably not going to make it. Like, you might get lucky in 10 or 20 shots.
Yeah, well,
what's the mental attitude that goes, I'm going to keep going until I get it?
Yeah, until I'm too sore or until I get it. Yeah, one of the two.
I'm going to break myself or I'm going to get it.
Yeah, well, after that rail, once I sat down and like chilled out for a minute, I couldn't walk back to the car. So I was done. And the rest of the trip, I was hobbling around with a potentially broken ankle. And the boys just went and rode other spots around Adelaide while I went back and hung out with my parents for a few days. And then, then we met up and then we went back to Melbourne. I was like, mission accomplished. Done it. Yeah.
That's BMX, isn't it?
Yeah, it was worth it. It was worth it because it's not long after the rail was gone. Yeah, one of my favourite memories of coming back to Adelaide to do something. That one. And another cool one was when they opened the dirt park in the City Dirt.
Yes.
Somehow, I don't know whether it was you, but somehow
we got you back over here.
Yeah, I got contacted to come do the opening, and they wanted me to flip through a banner.
Yes.
So
that's still on my YouTube thing. That's the photo I've put on there.
Right.
And they didn't hold the banner properly and they nearly strangled you.
It nearly didn't work. Yeah, they didn't hold the banner tight enough, but I'd flipped through it and I felt the banner stay on me all the way to the ground.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ. But that was cool just coming back to Adelaide to do that. And that was a long time ago.
That was a long flight, 2002-ish or something like that.
Yeah, yes. And that was like when I didn't do flips anymore. But I was like, I'm going there. They want to flip. I'll do a flip for that. Yeah,
come on, Kim. We need you.
Yeah, I'll do a flip for that.
And yes, I do remember they held the banner up.
Yeah.
And they didn't hold it tight enough, and it sagged.
And that was one of the first times some of my family had seen me ride in person. Like they came and watched that. Like
that was actually on my birthday.
Yeah, right.
It was.
Yeah, the opening of the City Dirt Park.
April. Wow. I think 23 years ago, something like that.
Yep. There's lots of good little memories like that along the way. Like so many, just you think of them after the fact. Like, oh, that's right. Did a lot of things.
You got to live in the present, but at the same time, it's nice to see what you did.
Mm-hmm.
And you did a bit of cool stuff. And so, was there a human that inspired you? Was it a rider? Was it a figure? Did someone, I want to be like that? Or you were always...
in the early days, it was like American pros. Like it was people like Jay Miron, funny enough. Watching him on Mad Matt was a big inspiration. Dave Mirra, Taj Mihelic, like those OG riders on those big videos that we first really watched that made the most impact by far. But as the time went on, it was people around me. It was like Mick was a huge one. Like when he was killing on street, that pushed me heaps. And like, I was super proud. Like one of my best mates is one of the coolest fucking riders going around at the time. So it was more like that. It wasn't anyone else. I sort of went on my own path a bit with that. Like I kept the old school riding mentality and tried to keep it original, which pushed me in different directions all the time. When everyone else was trying to go one way, I was like fucking around going this way and that way and this way and that way. So
were you riding a lot by yourself. Would you find a run practice by yourself, or it's more with mates?
No, it was always with mates. It was always with a crew. Whether it was in Adelaide, it was with the old school boys. But once I got to Melbourne and I made friends with the Cooma guys, they were my crew. And they weren't even like 100% into it. It was more of a little hobby for them. But there was, as long as I was with someone
pushing
that was enjoying it and wanted to do it, I would get pushed as well. Like I'd have my mate do a foot jam and get me psyched, and I'd do something crazy, like he just did a foot jam. And I was like, doesn't matter. Like, I'm so stoked that you're stoked that I'm going to push it as well.
So it's that brotherhood. That's
I think that was more the lifestyle that came along with it than, wanting to be the best rider or anything like that, That's why, I think that's why I lasted so long. Didn't get burnt out.
Do you miss that now?
Well, no, 'cause I've still got a lot of good friends out of it that I keep in touch with, and I still see to this day, I got friends that got burnt out by it, and I'm still in touch with them, and like they still stayed friends with me as I kept doing it, and they stopped, So it depends on the person. Like, good people are good people, That's why I keep in touch with people from Adelaide still, people that stopped riding. One of my best mates in Melbourne is a guy named Liam Fahampton, who he only had a short stint in BMX, but it was huge. Like, he made a massive impact, and like we ended up living together, pushed each other heaps, got along real well, and like I just went to his 40th the other week. Like, he doesn't ride anymore. He's well over it. He surfs now. He's always surfed. He's always been the dude that does a bit of everything. Yeah. But we'll always be mates, just because we're very similar and stuff.
Mm.
So it doesn't have to be just riding, but that's usually a big connection. Connection, because it's similar mindsets, similar people,
Competitive, pushing yourself, hanging out with your mates.
Yep.
Not necessarily for the gold medal, but just for the experience.
No. We play golf now. Like, golf's our thing. Like, I love playing golf whenever I can. I really enjoy it. Like, it's funny because golf's so opposite of what we used to do. But golf is really challenging as well. Like, it's technical and it's challenging, and I like that side of it. Like, and I can do it without getting hurt. So it's like, it's got all these benefits. I'm outdoors. I'm like in nature still. Like, there's little things that's very similar, but it's really easy on the body. It's enjoying, like, so.
Kim is getting old.
I've always liked golf. Even when I was a kid.
People, yes. Yeah. I've tried it. I'm useless at it. But to when you actually hit the ball once, you try 100 times. Got it that one time.
Yeah, you hit it pure and you get addicted, for sure. Yeah. But I when I was a kid, my dad bought me a golf clubs. And he's like, just randomly, because he heard me talk about it once, and he bought them for me, and I just went out and smacked balls around and kind of enjoyed it. And then throughout the years of when we get injured, couldn't really, hobbling around, we just hire a golf cart and go cruise around the course and hit some balls. Like, so it was kind of this cool little side thing that we could do every now and then.
I could see a relationship between the focus of hitting the ball just right and landing a BMX trick just right. You've got to get it just right, a little bit left and right. Yeah. It's the focus of that. I can see some similarities there.
I think the more addiction for me is like when you visualize what you could do and you execute it the same way you visualize it. And that's a lot to do with riding. Like, I talk about it with Mick and that sometimes. There'll be times where we were on the mini ramp in Skate FX, and we were riding, doing our thing, and we're just in the zone, pulling everything, having a good time. And I'd say to Mick, watch this, and I'd do something, and he's like, when did you learn that? I'm like, right then, because I just pictured myself doing it, and I pictured the feeling of it, not just what it looks like. I pictured how it would feel, and I'd relate it to another trick or whatever it would be, but I'd basically learn it in my head without doing it.
On the spot.
And then just execute it in front of him like I've been doing it for years, and he would just spin out like, the fuck, you're fucked up. And I was like, yeah, but it's like, it makes sense,
It's like the flow state.
You can visualize everything and then fucking do it. You can actually learn it without physically doing it. And that to me, that's like...
And that little window comes and goes, doesn't it?
And that's why I noticed when if you're injured and you're off for 3 months, you're always worried that when you come back, you're going to be worse than when... You're gonna suck, but you always come back just as strong, if not stronger, than when you stopped, because you've had all this time just thinking about it, just playing it out in your head, and you come back and you're just straight back to where you were left off, if not more. And it always spun me out, like, how the hell do you do that? Like, it's crazy.
So injuries didn't really get you down. You didn't let them get you down.
It just took you out of the game for a minute. Like, it didn't. No, it never slowed me down. If anything, like I said, I'd come back stronger, like just more keen. Like, couldn't wait to get back. Couldn't wait. Like, it was be shit house just sitting around doing nothing. But as soon as you came back, it was like, all right, straight back into it. Let's go. Yeah, no, I definitely loved it. Definitely.
So do you think you're gonna in 10 years' time? Do you reckon you'll pick up a BMX again?
In 10 years' time, I'll be in my 50s.
Your kids I'm in my 50s.
Oh yeah, I'd like to be able to just cruise. One thing I said I've always wanted to be able to do.
Dennis's Coy, there's plenty of old guys out there doing some.
I'd like to be able to just jumps, like just blow through a nice easy
Flow
set
with
of
your
trails.
kids.
I'd be
Your
happy
kids
to do
doing
that.
it.
Yeah, I'd be happy to do that. I'm not trying to do triple truck drivers or anything anymore. Like
I think you'd be hard pressed not to.
I've done my bit there. I don't need to.
Little airbag. You might try a trick. Hey?
Yeah, I know I could get on a bike and do a flip right now out of a, no problem. Like it's so easy to do a flip. Like you will never lose that. You might be a bit rusty, but you could get it back super quick.
Yeah.
But I'm happy. I've did it for a long time, so I didn't miss out on much.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm happy where I'm at now.
So, look, I think we're going to come close. We might come close to wrapping this as much as I could go for ever and ever. And we'll definitely get you back here again next time you're back in town.
Yeah.
I at the end of the day, I kind of say, put people on the spot. Like, you're in a bad spot. You haven't had the best day. I don't know if you can put yourself. You don't need to explain the spot, but how do you get out of that hole? When you're in a hole, you've broken your leg. There's a comp. There's a family matter. Whatever it is.
Well, for me, it usually comes back to my dad's influence, which would be just keep putting one foot in front of the other. Keep moving forward. Don't sit there and sit in a rut. It's not going to get you anywhere. Just keep moving forward. Keep going to work. Keep going to school. Whatever it is you're doing. Because if you stop and do nothing, that's when you fall back. That's when you fall behind. Like, just keep moving forward. So I've kind of done that my whole life. If shit gets too rough, whatever, I just keep moving forward. Whether it's just putting it aside and going, it is what it is. Can't fix it. Can't deal with it. What's next? Just keep moving forward. And it's worked for me my whole life. It's kept me going. So that's pretty much all I'd probably say about that, to be honest.
Brilliant. Brilliant. Is there anyone else you would like to say hello to or thank or anything like that?
Say hello to or thanks. I don't know.
I'm now. There started with 3 people listening. Now I think we're up to 5 and 6.
Oh yeah.
So one of those people might be listening. But is there anyone?
Might be
you go, fuck. This is the big time now.
I'm guessing there'll be a lot of people my age from Adelaide. So thanks for all the good times. Thanks for riding your jumps. Thanks for having me around. Things like that. I don't know. There's too many names. There's lots of good people I've had in my life throughout the times. Throughout BMX, throughout Adelaide, throughout Melbourne, throughout overseas. There's so many, like good sponsors. Jerry Batters from Vans did a lot. He was awesome. Colin McKay, awesome guy that looked after me. I looked after many other guys as well. My immediate riding buddies like Mick. The BHP crew in Melbourne, legends. Always got time for them. Catch up with them a lot. AJ, Leon, all the boys, they're awesome. Cooper Brownlee, obviously. He's been a good friend and an awesome guy to know in Melbourne. He's been really good. Man, there's so many.
There's so many people we forget about. And there's so many more conversations that I know where brains are both from. There's this and this. There's all this stuff we could talk about. Adelaide BMX and comps and events. And
didn't even touch.
An Adelaide event, an Adelaide comp. Before we finish, there you go. Cut it back. We got time. I think we got 9 minutes left. Maybe till everything dies.
All right.
An Adelaide fond memory of an Adelaide event. The people, the comp, the atmosphere, the whatever.
All my fond memories of Adelaide comps have probably been your comps. So like the kamikazes, stuff like that. Like beating Steve McCann was a great memory.
Was it Hallett Cove there?
Yeah. I'm pretty sure he did the same trick he did the year before, and then I did a new trick, and he was bummed that he lost, and he contested the judges, and I still won anyway, so that was great.
He could do the no foot can over the bar.
Yeah, we had a good rivalry. He would come to Melbourne, come to Adelaide, I would go to Melbourne, and we'd ride against each other, and I know he was very competitive, a lot more competitive than I was. So when I beat him, it was really satisfying. Like, you know,
and to see how he has gone a long way with it too.
Yeah, he went really well.
Well done.
He ended up living in the States, doing his thing for a long time.
Love to catch up with him again.
Props to Steve McCann. He did well. But yeah, it was good battles between me and him, especially in the early days.
We had Dingley Dell, we had jams, we had demos, we had
the step up at Dingley Dell. That comp was pretty awesome. I remember riding bloody Ross Richter's bike, because my bike fell apart or something, and
it was the very early days.
And he got a photo, footage of me doing a bar no footer on his bike. Over
I think you're only like amateur or something.
Yeah, it was probably 16 at that point. It was pretty young. Same with the Marion dirt comps. So we were all real young for those ones. It wasn't until like the Hallett Cove or the Kamikazes where I was really, the Bad Habits days when you like. Lust was early. I watched your videos. Like Lust was early, my career early days. When it got to Bad Habits, that's when I started really coming into who I became.
And they just went on from there.
Yeah, and that's what it's
up and over.
Yeah, went hard from there, and got to do what I wanted to do for a long time. So very happy.
So happy to have you a part of my life. So happy to see what you did and what you've done. And I'm stoked to have this conversation. I've started this again fucking 25, 30 years
That's
later.
Cool. I'm stoked. That's why I've been watching all of them.
This stuff. So thank you.
No, you're welcome.
Kim Grosser.
Yep.
We're going to call this a wrap.
Cheers.
Thank you. Hopefully to see you again soon.
Sounds good.
Cheers, mate.
See you, bud.